Yes, welcome to a special pay-per-view edition of Just the Tip with me, your host, Uncle Weezy. We're going to be breaking down all 13 fights on the UFC 295 card that is going to be headlined. It was headlined by John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Jones got hurt. He tore his pectoral muscle. So now the co-main event, which was Jerry Prochazka going up against Alex Pereira for the interim 205-pound title. That is now the main event. And our new co-main event, a real banger, you guys, is going to be Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich. Somebody is going to get served in that fight, ladies and gentlemen. Great card here from top to bottom. 13 fights to talk about. So once we talk about all these fights, that we can play some educated bets that will allow us to stack cash tickets like flapjacks and enjoy watching these fights even more than we would if we were just enjoying them for the violence and the competition. So what's up with you guys today? I hope you all had a great weekend. I hope you're all ready to put in the work this week to make the money on this phenomenal pay-per-view card that we got coming up on Saturday. Last week, I'll share my screen with you guys, was a very, very small up week here. I was up 0.46 units, only had two bets which weren't pushes. That was the over 2.5 rounds in the Mora-Ruiz fight. I got that at plus 145. Wound up being a terrible bet. I thought there was a chance Mora might gas out after round one. Thought there could be an adrenaline dump after round one. And I know that Ruiz is really tough and really tough to get out of there because she's never going to quit. But Mora surpassed my expectations for somebody that's, a debutante, for somebody that only had something like 8 fights. She did an amazing job in there. Just kicked Ruiz's ass from pillar to post and shaved her ass there in the second round. So that was a 1-unit loser. And then I parlayed the Mark Diakese money line with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, Vitor Petrino. That was a plus 146 parlay for 1 unit. We cashed on that. 1.46 up, 1 down, means 0.46 to the plus side. We broke a 2-week losing streak. We were down 0.18 units the week before, down 1.2 the week before that. So broke a little 2-week losing streak, and that 2-week losing streak broke a 4-week winning streak. So it's nice to get back into the plus, but it's really not what I'm looking to do here. I'm looking to make a lot more units than that per week. But we've got a fantastic card here to break down. I'm going to see what's going on with you guys in the chat here. Oh, and by the way, let's quickly talk about the main event, right? Goes the full 5 rounds. Jailton Almeida versus Derek Lewis. Minus 3,000 is where the fight doesn't go to decision, opened up on Bet Online. Minus 10,000 is where DraftKings opened up that line. And if you check my Twitter at MMA Weezy, the day after the fights on Sunday, I posted a clip from last week's Just the Tip when we were talking when Brady had joked about making a 5-unit bet on the fight doesn't go to decision to win 0.18 units, which is what you would have won had you bet 5 units on that fight doesn't go at minus 3,000. Anyway, I was saying, when you open a line at that kind of an implied probability, 99% on DraftKings, over 97% on Bet Online. What you do is you open the door to chicanery from a favorite to say, like, hey, if I were to let a couple people know that I'm not planning on trying to finish this guy, to bet some overs, to bet Jailton Almeida to win by decision, to just bet fight goes to decision, you can make so much money, and the temptation wouldn't be there ordinarily if the line was priced, somewhat fairly, somewhat so that, it looks like the books are trying to take some kind of risk. But they weren't. And what happened? We saw a very unlikely result where Jailton showed no aggressiveness at all, was easily able to take Lewis down in every round and lay on top of him while not trying to finish with submissions and while not trying to throw ground and pound. So just an interesting result there. I'm glad that I was able to avoid that and not have money invested on that fight. because I probably would have had a violence bet in one way or another. It was just the price was just so crazy that I never even thought about betting it. The greasy 4-leg parlay last week was 1 leg away. We had a leg canceled because we were going to do fight doesn't go to decision for Vieira versus Petrosian. We hit on the Mark D. Casey money line, and I think we hit on the Vitor Petrino money line. Is that what it was? No, we hit on the Gilton Almeida line, a money line, and we hit on the it wasn't the Diakese money line, it was the Vitor Petrino money line. And then the 4th leg, which did not hit, was Renat Fakhretdinov to win by decision. That wound up being a draw. That close. It wouldn't have been a big casher. It would have been something like maybe plus 250 or plus 300. But I think we got screwed just a little bit on the Fakhretdinov decision. I did think he won round 1, 10-8. I thought Zaleski won round 3, 10-8, and I scored round 2 for Fakhretdinov. But either way, that was a great fight. It was good to see Zaleski put on a really great performance. And yeah, I thought we were close there, but a draw, we were this close to cashing that greasy 4-leg parlay as well. So this week, I've got a lot of bets already, and I'm looking to add more. I've almost got 10 units down on this card already, so I'm looking forward to sharing all those bets with you guys, to breaking down every single one of these fights, to finishing with a Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking Pick of the Week, and then as always, Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, which we've just been on just a ridiculous heater with the ass shaving of the week. We're just getting them right every week, every single week. And I'd say about maybe 8 out of the last 10 weeks, we've gotten them right all 10 weeks, but 8 out of the last 10, these guys are shaving ass in the first or the second round. They're not just winning by decision or making it close. So definitely on a heater. So looking to make it one more, stack another flapjack on the stack there of ass shavings of the week, cashing for the Oi boys, Uncle Weezy's army out here. So I'm looking forward to breaking down these fights with you guys in the chat. Let's talk to whoever is here live with us this evening. We got my guy Dixon Sider in the room saying, Prophet Weezy. I wish I could tell you I'm out having a ball with friends and family on my birthday today, but the truth is I'm home alone wishing it was Saturday night already. Happy birthday to our guy Dixon Sider, a friend of the show, absolutely. Many, many more to you, my brother. And yeah, just, I mean, if I were there, I'd give you $5 and tell you to give yourself, go get yourself a cheap piece of ass for your birthday. But I'm not there. I can't do that for you. But happy birthday to our guy, Dixon Sider. And since nobody gifted me anything today, I decided to gift myself the highly coveted shower attachment for my exclusive Lexi Bell Fleshlight. Prophet Weezy, it's a match made in porn heaven. Our guy Dixon Sider is going to be having all kinds of fun tonight. Not just because he's here with us watching Just the Tip with his host, Uncle Weezy, where we're going to have some fun anyway, but he's gifting himself presents that will last and provide fun for ages here for Dixon Sider. And we got my guy Mushroom MMA in the room saying, what's up, Uncle Weezy? 4 more sleeps. I will be live at UFC 295. Dude, that'd be awesome. I wish I could be there with you. I will be right here in Chicago doing my thing, but Madison Square Garden, New York City, going to be one hell of an event for UFC 295, and the card is great. And we got M.A. Laren in the room saying, oi, back at it live again. Thank you, good to see you, M.A. Laren. Always good to see you hanging out in here live with us. We got MMA's biggest fan, 23, saying, oi, starting to really look forward to these. Keeps me hyped for the event. Let's get it. Let's go, my man. We got my guy Brady in the room. DFS by the numbers saying, oi. Yes. Good to see you, Brady, in here. I know Brady's got a lot of action going this week as well. Jake C saying, catching a live show for a change. I usually catch the show on replay. Well, welcome to you, Jake C. And he's saying, oi. Dude, it's good to have you in here live. It's always nice when we have a lot of live viewers and a lot of chat to talk about these fights with. Rem Dog's in the room saying, oi, what's up, Uncle Weezy and chat? Excited for this card, as am I, man. It's a beauty of a card. My guy, the Cuban Assassin, is in the room saying, what it do? I heard Frevola is the redhead bully kid from the movie A Christmas Story. Can you confirm? I think that kid is long dead. Well, maybe not long dead. He's probably still alive, but he's not as young as Frevola. Frevola is bullying in the cage. As far as I know, he's not doing the bullying outside of the cage. It'll be really good to see him. He's got a couple Buzukja is on this card who's from that gym. Frevola, this is going to be a really fun card, and we got the New York boys are going to be representing on Saturday here. And we got Daz Files in the room saying, "Oi, card of the year, let's go." And it's going to be probably surpassed by the next card when we got Colby versus Leon and a couple other really good fights on that one. Definitely looking forward to it. But this one is just such a banger. I mean, that co-main event, that main event, amazing fights. And then we got Benoit Saint-Denis versus Matt Frevola. It's going to be ridiculous. We got Power Structure in the room saying, Weezy called that Almeida by decision last week. How many more minutes till he starts? Well, I was late today. So, yeah, I was definitely late. But and then he says, say no more, because it was 10:07. So that means I must have started 7 minutes late tonight. But, yeah, I think it was Power Structure who commented on last week's Just the Tip after the fight ended, after the main event ended, that, you know, Gilton was going to be eating good with his boys who all cashed those Gilton by decision tickets at something close to 20-1. So, yeah, good to have you hanging out here in the room with us, my man. And MA saying, Unc, the audio is odd. Audio is odd, huh? Okay. Let me look at my settings here real quick. I appreciate that. Make sure that I've got, oh, no wonder. My microphone is not plugged in. So thank you so much for letting me know about that. Now my Yeti microphone is there, and now the audio should be better. It was using the camera's audio instead of my mic, and I don't know why that thing was not plugged in properly, but now it is. And I hope you'll let me know if I go mute at any point now. And Power Structure saying he's got no problems with the audio. No, MA caught it, man. MA caught it that it's not the usual mic that you hear me on. So hopefully now it's even better. And then Mushroom making money every damn week. 300 out, 616 back. That's 3.16 units, ladies and gentlemen. That's a great week for anybody, especially when it's over 100% return on investment. It's not like he made 316, but he risked 100 units. Only 3. Great job, Mushroom. Always great to double your money any week. That is a great week. Gene Ellis in the room saying, Oi, Weezy, I'm pumped for this one. I'm glad that Bum Jones is out. Aspinall will crush everybody. That is such a good fight. But you better be careful not to get hit by that dude Pavlovich, because that guy is scary, ladies and gentlemen. Jake C., Almeida 100% fixed that. Yeah, he did. He for sure did. Rem Dog saying Almeida managed to put everybody to sleep but Derek Lewis. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. He never even tried to really choke him. He never really tried to really get off on some ground and pound there. So it felt like a deliberate decision to let some people profit, maybe, from a very fat prop there. 30K turns into over $500,000 if you were to make that bet, and that is absolutely correct. That's how the markets work, ladies and gentlemen. Lewis was straight resting on the canvas. I believe they call that corpse guard, and it was just an ingenious move by Derek Lewis, a defensive move to play dead for the entire fight, which confused Gilton Almeida and rendered him unable to finish the fight, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody's blaming Gilton for not trying. What about that cagey veteran move of the corpse guard for our Derek Lewis there? My guy Vic is in the room saying, oh, yes, what's up, Weezy and chat? Always good to have my guy Victor checking in here. We got Power Structure saying he proved at the end of the third. I think he knows ground and pound. Yeah, I know, man. That's for sure. My guy Lou Betcha also in the room saying, oi, let's get it, Weezy, for Parsons and for America. UFC 295 right here in America, ladies and gentlemen. And I think everybody in the first 2 fights is not from America. But Mackenzie Dern, born in America. We got Frevola from America. We got Sabatini, America. We got neither Ricci nor Godinez. Roosevelt Roberts, representing for America. Nazim Sadykhov, he carries that Azerbaijani flag, and I think he was born there, but he's been an American for a long time. Jared Gordon, America. John Castaneda, America. Josh Van lives in America, but he's Myanmar stand-up. It'll always be Burma to me, though. And then Dennis Buzukja, America, but his parents emigrated from Albania. And Jamaal Emmers, America. Not a lot of Americans on this New York City card, but a lot of great fights. We got Mushroom saying what's up to Vic. We got Mushroom saying what's up to Loopy. Yeah, we got Greenbat in the house saying sup, Weezy. Chael's been all over the news. Thoughts? I have not seen why Chael's been in the news. I stopped paying attention to that dude a long time ago. His fight predictions are the worst ever. And I just, I loved Chael when he fought. He was a great personality in the fight game. He was hilarious. But now I just don't pay attention to him. So I have no idea what he's been saying or how he's getting into the news. We got Vic saying what's up to Mushroom. Electric Doll is in the room saying, oh, yo, Uncle Weez, 295 is going to be the bomb. Yo, pumped. I'm pumped too. It is an incredible card. Daz File saying what's up to everybody in the room. Ice Viking saying what's up, Weezy and chat. Good to have Ice Viking hanging out with us here. We got J Jack in the room saying, Weezy, how's it going? I think Ricci is a great underdog this week. I think you might like my breakdown on that fight. We got Power Structure saying, good ear, man. Yes, sir. Thank you for catching that, because I always just assume that my microphone is the one that's going to be defaulting, but it must have gotten unplugged somehow. And that's probably because I've got my cousin's Doberman over here, and he's just, whenever I'm trying to type in here, he's bumping my elbow, and it probably bumped the mic 100 times and unplugged it. Kid Kick saying, oi, what's up, Weezy? We got Ice Viking saying, I think even at Chael's age, he would easily double leg Masvidal and make him look silly. Oh, is he saying he could beat Masvidal? That's funny. We got Daz, Victor saying, what's up to Daz? We got Mushroom saying, Daz, what's up? We got Kid Kick saying, Weez, I need 5 finishers to play GK Rainmakers with. Can you help a brother out? 5 finishers. Whoever you think finishes the main and the co-main. Rebecki will get a finish probably. I think, well, I'm not going to say that one because I want you guys to know that later. And I think Diego Lopes could potentially get a finish. Same thing with Saint-Denis. Dern could get a submission for sure. But I'll let you figure it out after we talk about all these fights, my man. Let's see. We got Javon Gurung saying feed Jailton Almeida to Jake Collier. Collier would kick his ass for sure. This means Lewis has world-class ground defense. That's correct. That's exactly what it is. It had nothing to do with Jailton wanting to go the full 25 on purpose. All right, you guys, let's get to work here. We've got 13 fights to break down. And as always, these beautiful stats that you see here on Just a Tip, which includes the advanced stats with the heat map on it to determine whether all of their stats are above or below or right at the averages for the division. We got the prop template, which has all of the implied probabilities of the betting lines, all of the benchmarks for the division that the fighters are in, whether it's a 5-round fight or a 3-round fight. And we compare these lines to the fighter performances, to the benchmarks for the division to determine value for lines. All these analytical tools are available at patreon.com/Uncle Weezy. It's the best way to support my work. I don't make anything coming here to YouTube and writing a 25-page script like I do every week and putting out this information for free. So the people that are supporting me on the Patreon are the ones who are really helping me out and making sure that I'm able to come here every week. So please consider joining the Patreon. And it's not just free support. You're going to get something in return. And that's the ability to join the Discord, where I'm going to be posting all my bets, and we talk fights with some really sharp people, but also all of the analytics that come with being a Patreon member. So please consider joining that Patreon and supporting the show that I work so hard to produce for you guys every single week. So let's get to these fights, you guys. We've got really good ones here, and we're going to be starting with Denis Buzukja, New York, stand up, going up against Jamaal Emmers for this fight. The lines, we've got Denis Buzukja as a plus 215 underdog here to Jamaal Emmers, the minus 255 favorite. Fight doesn't go to decision here. Is minus, that's got to be plus 190. I must have screwed that one up. Let me double check, because that does not seem right. It's got to be plus 190. MMA and UFC 295 is 155. Sorry about that. And it is plus 155. Can't be giving you guys bunk lines here. All lines courtesy of Bet Online Sportsbook. So yes, Buzukja plus 215, Emmers minus 255. Fight doesn't go to decision. Plus money at plus 155. The bookies think that this one goes to the scorecards more often than it doesn't. So let's first start talking about the underdog here, Denis Buzukja, as he's 8 years younger than Jamaal Emmers, and he's also a switch stance fighter, fighting an orthodox fighter. So on paper, that's an advantage as well. And Denis is a very durable dude. He's never been finished in 14 pro fights, and I've seen him get hit very hard and put in some really bad spots. There's no quit in the kid. He's definitely tough as nails, and he's training at a great team over there, over at Longo Weidman MMA. So he's also, the hometown fighter who's going to be getting a lot of support there on the East Coast. But Jamaal Emmers is going to be 1 inch taller than Denis, and he's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. He's the much bigger featherweight in this spot. And Jamaal has the experience advantage with 12 more fights and 130 more minutes in the pro cage in 6 more years as a pro fighter. Jamaal also has the UFC experience advantage with 4 more fights and 45 more minutes of octagon time. And Jamaal is a plus athlete with a great frame for the division. You can't teach size or God-given athleticism, and Jamaal definitely has both. And Jamaal's distance striking metrics are above average literally everywhere for the division. You could see that. This is the distance striking metrics here. And when you look over here on the right side, you see a lot of green. This guy is above average in literally every category for distance striking here. So he's doing a great job of winning minutes at distance, and he does it because he's tall and long, and he uses that length very well. He's got a positive 1.21 distance striking differential, 41% accuracy, 62.5% distance striking defense. His volume is above average, and he does a great job of using his kicking game to stay safe at distance while putting some volume on his opponent. Jamaal spends more than 2/3 of his cage time at distance striking range, and he's been there against dangerous strikers like Giga Chikadze, Jack Jenkins, Vince Cachero, Hussein Ashkabov, and he's never been dropped or knocked out in the UFC. And Jamaal is definitely the better wrestler here. If Jamaal wrestled and initiated grappling exchanges more often, outside of the Sabatini fight, of course, he would easily be 4-1 in the UFC, and perhaps with some better fight IQ in the Sabatini fight, he could even be 5-0. Jamaal has 9 UFC takedowns, and he's only allowed 1. He gets 2.18 takedowns per 15 minutes on 5.33 attempts, and he outcontrols his opponents 28.5% to 3.26%, winning just under 90% of the control time positions his fights are in, while also showing 90% takedown defense. We saw a boxer in Sean Woodson, a guy with a similar frame
just dominate Buzukja on the mat. So if Jamaal is smart enough to mix in the grappling here, and we all know that that's a very big if, then he should easily win minutes on the ground in this matchup as well. And Jamaal has the superior UFC strength of schedule with 5 fights at the UFC level to only 1 for Dennis. But it should be noted that the combined UFC records of the 2 guys he's beaten is 0 wins and 3 losses at the UFC level. Those wins are over Vince Cachero and everybody's favorite criminal, Hussein Ashkabov, who's right now in a Thai jail for breaking into a man's house, tying him up along with 4 other people and torturing this man. But he got caught, thank God, him and his psycho brother, and they're in a jail right now, which is probably the best place for this dude because this guy is clearly a maniac. But Jamaal Emmers beat that maniac like all 3 rounds. He was in there with a Chechen maniac who literally tortures dudes while breaking into their house. And he 30-27 that cat. So Emmers is a good fighter, you guys. So I don't see anywhere Dennis Buzukja has any advantages outside of youth and durability against Emmers. Emmers is taller. He's longer. He's more experienced overall and in the UFC. He's faster. He's far more athletic. He's the better minute winner at distance striking range, the better grappler, and he's fought the better brand of competition. It's always terrifying, though, to back Emmers at juice because he finds ways to lose close fights with his less than stellar in-fight decision-making. That being said, I definitely favor him to win this fight. Buzukja has a lot to prove in this spot, and I don't really see outside of landing a huge overhand right or a perfectly placed liver shot how he finds ways to win this fight. I'm picking Jamaal Emmers to win this fight by decision. I like the overs in this fight due to Buzukja's ability due to Buzukja's durability and neither guy's ability to really be able to finish fights at the highest level. I mean, Buzukja only has a 45% finish rate in 11 pro wins. And for Emmers, it's just over 50%. But Emmers got 2 UFC wins. He's never finished either of them. So these guys are not great finishers. And Buzukja is very durable. And Emmers has been finished in 4 of his 7 pro losses. I think Buzukja is probably the more likely guy to actually get a finish in this spot. It's just that Emmers is such a talented minute winner that I do favor him to win the minutes of this fight and win it by decision. So let's get up here. And I'm Vic Vinegar. I am not Uncle Weezy on Tapology, but you can follow me on Tapology at Vic Vinegar here to always get my picks on every card, but you'll always get them right here on Just the Tip as well. So we're going to go to the Prochazka versus Pereira UFC 295 card, the curtain jerker. I am picking Jamaal Emmers to win this fight by decision. And I've got a lot of bets, so I'm not going to give you the bets fight by fight, but I will give you all my track bets after we break down the last fight of the card. So here we go. Emmers by decision is going to be the first fight that we've broken down here. Yeah, and Buzukja is 8 years younger. That's definitely a bonus. And do it for the people. Jamaal, total brain fuzz moment or 2 like usual. Oh, yeah, he could absolutely do it. That's one thing you have to worry about Emmers is the fact that this guy makes bad decisions. He played footsie with Pat Sabatini. He didn't shoot his first takedown in the Chikadze fight until 6 minutes in to the fight, and he basically gave away rounds by not wrestling against the guy who had gotten dominated on the ground by Austin Springer, losing that fight on Dana White's Contender Series, not like more than a year before Emmers fought him. So pathetic fight IQ, but still, Emmers is an extremely talented mixed martial artist. There's no place that he's weak or deficient other than fight IQ. So Buzukja is going to have to find some moments to turn this fight on its ass. Otherwise, I see Emmers doing the better work. And DFS by the numbers saying passing on the first fight and going to get a coffee after some Saturday pre-shows. And one of those, I believe I will be on Best Bet with DFS by the numbers this week on his YouTube channel. So keep an eye out for that. All right, you guys, Next fight is going to be a great one here between Joshua Van, a very young and very hot prospect here at minus 225, going up against the fighting pride of Peru, Kevin Borjas at plus 190. And the fight doesn't go to decision here, minus 160 on BetOnline Sportsbook. So let's get the stats up here on the screen. And Van Borjas. And let's first start talking about Joshua Van's advantages in this fight. Josh is still only 22 years old. He's almost 4 years younger than Borjas while having a little more experience overall. And he's been busy as a professional. Josh Van has 9 fights in only 2 years as a pro fighter. He won the Fury FC Flyweight Championship at the end of 2022 before getting the call to the UFC, where he beat KG veteran Zhalgas Zhumagulov by split decision. He has 1 more UFC fight and 15 more minutes of octagon time than Borjas, who makes his UFC debut on Saturday. And Josh is a really fun striker to watch. He pressures forward pretty much nonstop, and he drowns his opponents in volume. Josh is unusually calm and comfortable in the pocket. He stands on a napkin with his opponent right in the middle of the cage, and he trusts his head movement and speed to defend himself, and he mixes up combinations in the pocket. He digs to the body a lot, and that combined with the forward pressure and volume that he throws tends to break his opponents later in fights. Josh is young, he's fast, he's really active, and his trajectory is pointing straight up. It will be interesting to see how he fares against another hungry young prospect who also likes to stand and bang in the pocket on Saturday. That's why this really promises to be a bit of a ding-dong, ladies and gentlemen. And Josh should be the better grappler here. I've seen him successfully mix in some wrestling on the regionals, and he's 2 wins and 1 loss to the submission in his pro career, while Borjas, who's more of a pure striker boxer, is 0 wins and 1 loss to the submission in his career. Borjas' performance on Dana White's Contender Series against a tough, suffocating grappler like Victor Diaz was impressive, but he still gave up 5 takedowns and almost 8 minutes of control time, so he needs to clean that up because Van can wrestle a little, and we've seen Van finish fights via standing rear naked choke and calf slicer. So he's shown an opportunistic submission game that we haven't seen out of Borjas at this point in his career yet. And I like Josh Van's strength of schedule better than Borjas. Fury FC is a better organization than Inca FC, which is where Borjas had the majority of his fights. The one time Borjas took a step up and fought in a reputable promotion like Combate, he got dropped by Renzo Mendez in the second round and finished by rear naked choke. Now, Kevin Borjas is going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here over Josh Van, and Kevin loves to stand and bang. He trusts his chin. He wings bombs. He's not very technical, but he's not afraid to get into the pocket and make any fight a bit of a ding-dong and exchange those power shots until someone gets served. Kevin is 8 wins and 0 losses to the knockout in his pro career, while having 0 submission wins and only 1 win by decision. So obviously, Kevin does his best work when he's at distance striking range. On Dana White Contender Series versus Diaz, only 6 minutes of the fight took place at distance striking range, but in those 6 minutes, Kevin outstruck Victor 84-33 at distance. Let me repeat that. In 6 minutes at distance, Kevin Borjas landed 84 significant strikes at distance. So he's a big-time volume guy, and he does great work when it's standing and in the center of the cage. He outstruck Victor 84-33, and he attempted 108 more strikes at distance than Victor Diaz did. If this fight stays standing, Borjas gets the fight that he wants, and he will be dangerous while it's there. So this has potential fight of the night written all over it. Both guys love to stand and bang. Both guys don't shy away from a brawl, and both get in the pocket and put together nasty combinations. I like Van's youth, grappling edge, and his combination of pocket boxing mixed with pressure and pace. His kicks are excellent, and I think that will make a big difference here in this fight, as Borjas tends to be more of a boxer who's heavy on that lead leg. Both guys have power, and both guys will be dangerous in the pocket, but I think Van is faster, that he will be the one pressuring. He's more athletic. He's got a strength to schedule edge, and the threat of mixing in the grappling and submission game has me leaning Van to win this fight. I'm going to pick him to win it by decision because I see that Borjas has got a really good chin, but I wouldn't be surprised at all by a late Joshua Van finish because of the pace and pressure and volume that this dude puts on his opponents. I think we can trust Borjas' durability here, and I see this fight being a 3-round war where the majority of the fight is a crowd-pleasing stand and bang until one man falls affair. But I am going to pick Joshua Van to win this one by decision. All right, so we go to Tapology here, and it's the fearless Josh Van, Myanmar, stand up, going up against El Gallo Negro, Kevin Borjas, the Black Cock, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Borjas, the Black Cock. I have him losing his UFC debut to Joshua Van in a real banger. What are you guys in the chat saying about this one? We've got, yeah, dude, DFS by the numbers agrees, man. This one could definitely be a bit of a ding-dong. I think that there could be some bells ringing here and that there's going to be somebody getting knocked down at some point in this fight and that these guys are going to stand and trade, and it's going to be a real crowd-pleasing affair. And we got Giga Chat of NPCs saying, daily savings has me fucked up thinking I missed Uncle Weezy. You did not. I hate daylight savings time. Can't stand this bullshit. It starts getting dark now at like 4:30 p.m. That's for the birds. If you elect me to be your president, ladies and gentlemen, daylight savings time, the first fucking thing to go out the window. And I promise you that. Your Uncle Weezy does not renege on campaign promises, ladies and gentlemen. We got Backstabber 47 in the room saying, any predictions for the opening line for short notice Roosevelt Roberts Saturday, Weezy? The line is already opened, and Matuesz Rebecki is already a minus 600 favorite for that fight. And Giga Chat of NPCs, that's one more vote. That's one more flapjack on the stack that gets me to potentially being your president of the United States, everybody's favorite uncle, Uncle Weezy. And we got Victor De Jesus saying, I have Van on my only bet so far, which is a 2-leg parlay. And I know my guy Victor had Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, Vitor Petrino, parlayed up with just about everybody last week. So I know that Pete Petrino got the job done for Victor, and hopefully you cashed all those parlays, my man. But let's go to this next fight. Kyung-Ho Kang going, that is Mr. Perfect Kyung-Ho Kang at plus 123. He's the underdog going up against Sexy Mexi John Castaneda at minus 143. The fight doesn't go to decision, plus money here at plus 160 right now. This is going to be a very high level fight here, in my opinion, and I can't wait to break it down with you guys. Let's get these stats up on the screen, and let's start breaking down our guy Sexy Mexi John Castaneda. Now, he's going to be 4 years younger than Kyung, and he is a switch stance fighter against an orthodox fighter, which is also an advantage on paper. I really like the fact that Castaneda switches stances here because Kyung-Ho Kang's got a really good jab. So the fact that Castaneda can switch stances, I do think that we will be seeing him in that southpaw stance quite a bit to potentially take some of the sting and some of the activity away from Kyung-Ho Kang's jab, which is a really good weapon of his. And Castaneda is a very well-rounded and experienced fighter. He's got 26 professional fights. He's 20-6 as a pro with 6 wins by way of decision, 6 wins by way of sub, and 6 wins, or no, it's going to be 8 wins by way of KO. So he can win minutes and moments, and he's finished 2 of his 3 UFC wins and only been finished twice by KO in 26 pro fights. Castaneda's 6 wins and 4 losses to the decision in his career, while Kang is 5 wins and 7 losses. So being able to count on John to be able to do both is very important in this spot. And John has really dangerous striking. He's a switch stance fighter who loves to throw his power straight, and he has very dangerous head kicks. John has landed 4 knockdowns in only 5 UFC fights, landing a knockdown on 1.89% of the distance strikes that he lands. John has 8 wins and 2 losses to the knockout in his career, and he does have 1 UFC win by way of KO. We saw Castaneda landing bombs in the first round of the Santos fight. The two head kicks that he landed in the first round probably knock out 75% of the division. And he also landed a knockdown with a beautiful straight left against Santos. But that dude was durable as fuck. And John gassed out trying to finish Willie catch. And he got broken under the relentless pressure of Santos late in the second round of that fight. The way Santos broke Castaneda is how Castaneda broke Miles Johns when they fought. The constant pressure of John wore down Miles, and John hurt him late in the second, and he finished the job in the third, landing a knockdown and finishing with an arm triangle. John lands big shots, and he's absolutely capable of finishing fights with his pressure and his power. And John is a very good grappler. He's got a college wrestling background in Minnesota, and his grappling efficiency in the UFC has been above average. John gets 1.61 takedowns per 15 minutes on 3.76 attempts. So his accuracy is above average at 43%, and his 73% takedown defense is also above average against 15 attempts that he's seen, allowing 1.07 takedowns per 15 minutes to his opponents. John wins 69% of the control time positions that his fights are in, and he outcontrols his opponents 15% to 6.8%. And John's UFC strength of schedule numbers, especially the wins, are better than Kyung's, but not by too much. But you could see here, 8.33 average fights per guy that Castaneda beats, only 5.75 for Kang. 0.79 ratio isn't very good for Castaneda, but Kang's is even worse at 0.59. Now, Kyung-Ho Kang, he's big and long for the weight class. He's going to be 3 inches taller and have a 2-inch reach advantage here over Castaneda. And he's got the overall and UFC experience advantages. He's got 3 more pro fights, 10 more minutes of pro cage time, and 5.5 more years as a pro fighter. And Kang also has the UFC experience advantage with 7 more fights and 90 more minutes of octagon time. And Kyung's a very talented and technical striker at distance. He's got a positive 0.13 distance striking differential. He's got above average, about 44% accuracy and almost 64% defense, also above average. He uses his length well. He stays behind a crisp, long jab that he uses to frustrate his opponents and set up his power strikes. Kyung has 4 knockdowns in the UFC. He's landing them on 1.25% of the distance strikes that he lands, but he's only 2-1 to the KO in his career. So if Kyung does drop you, that's when you're really going to have to worry about his opportunistic submission game. And Kyung is definitely known for his grappling game. He's 12-1 to the career to the submission in his career, and 4 wins and 0 losses in the UFC. So Kyung is opportunistic on the ground, and about 57% of his fights take place in control time positions. So he fights to his strengths. Kang gets 2.07 takedowns per 15, and he only attempts 3.62. So that accuracy is above 57% on his takedowns. And his 70% takedown defense is also above average for the division. Kyung outcontrols his opponents 37% to 20%, winning about 65% of the control time positions that his fights are in. So he's not only an opportunistic moment winner, but a consistent minute winner in the grappling exchanges. Now, this is a great fight between 2 well-rounded and well-tested veterans. The line is close, and these guys are very well matched. On the Castaneda side, I love that he's 4 years younger while having a similar amount of pro experience and a comparable UFC strength to schedule. Castaneda has real power, and his wrestling can dictate where the fight takes place. On the Kang side, he does such a great job of winning minutes at range with his tall and long frame for the division. He uses that length to maintain distance, stays behind that crispy jab, and stays defensively sound and hard to hit. If he lands big and drops you, he jumps on your back and can finish with the rear naked choke. Like I said, both these guys are well-rounded and experienced, but at this point, I prefer the youth and the power advantage I see Castaneda having on the feet. And if John switches stances and stays southpaw, he can reduce Kang's ability to maintain distance with that jab. I also think Castaneda has the wrestling advantage here. So if he doesn't like how the striking is going, he can test Kang's takedown defense, which did not hold up against Hani Yahya. I think the under 2.5 rounds at plus 195 is a sneaky play at the number due to how dangerous both of these guys are wherever the fight goes. But I'm going to pick John Castaneda to win this fight by decision. Let me get that up here. So I'm going Castaneda to win by decision here. But one thing that I did do, and we'll talk about it, is I bet the fight doesn't go to decision here. I think that both of these guys are extremely dangerous. And the price on this earlier was kind of ridiculous. So I took the shot. I got it at plus 180 earlier. That's a 35.7% implied probability, but 49% of bantamweight fights finish inside the distance. And for Castaneda, it's 3 of his 5 fights that have finished inside the distance at the UFC level. It's a much smaller percentage at 4 of 12 for Kang, but Kang's very durable. He's only been knocked out once, and it was by soccer kicks, something like 10 years ago. And he's been submitted once in his career. But, also at the same time, I think Castaneda puts a pace on, and his head kicks and his punches have got a lot of power behind them. And he's also pretty hittable too. So I could see either one of these guys having big moments on the feet or on the ground here. So I took a shot at a big plus money number here for the fight doesn't go to decision. 41.18% of their combined 17 fights have finished inside the distance. And that's a higher number than the price of the line, which is 35.71%. So 13% price savings here, 5.46% price savings here. And these guys are finishing inside the distance at a smaller rate than what the division does as a whole. But at a big plus money number like that, I'll take that shot and I'll look for violence here. But still, like I say, the pick is Castaneda by decision because I'm respecting that durability of Kyung-Ho Kang, but he's not getting any younger, ladies and gentlemen. And Castaneda is a difficult guy to deal with, as is Kang. Both of these guys are very opportunistic. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Yes, definitely, man. DFS by the number says another ding dong here, and I couldn't agree, man, because these guys are going to go at it, and they're both in high-paced fights, and they both hit hard. One thing that's really important to point out here, in my opinion, is that Castaneda landing knockdowns on 1.89% of the distance strikes that he lands, and for Kang, it's 1.25%. So Kang's got 4 knockdowns, and Castaneda's got 4 knockdowns. So both of these guys, are in fights where they're definitely landing big shots, and both of these guys have been knocked down once in their careers as well. So looking for a little violence. We'll see how that one goes. It's a big plus money number, so you got to be prepared to be wrong more often than you're right. But if you can get close to that 50% outcome betting those big plus money numbers, you're going to make a lot of money over the long run. And we got Vic saying, I can't wait to see Willie catch back in the cage. I love that guy. He's so much fun to watch. Love the pressure. Love the durability. Love that he never fucks off and he breaks dudes. It's one of my favorite style of fighters to watch. Remdog saying so much good matchmaking. I could be swayed either way in a lot of these fights. Yeah, man, very competitive fights on this card, you guys. So you got to plant your flag on some of these. But I think that this is a great card from a gambling perspective because I can see a lot of these fights going either way, and your stylistic read becomes very important this week. Kang decision, says Prince of Mischief. Yeah, Kang's a great minute winner at the UFC level. He's 4-3 in decisions, while Castaneda is 1-1. Both of these guys very good, but Kang definitely a lot more defensively responsible at range than John Castaneda is. And Kang should be pretty popular dog this week. Yeah, he's a great fighter. He's a very good fighter, and he's looked really good in those last 2 wins against Quinones and Bakary. But let's move on to this next fight, which is going to be Jared Gordon at minus 182, big favorite here, going up against the Olympian in Mark Madsen, plus 157. The fight doesn't go to decision at plus 195 for this fight. So the bookies definitely see this one going the distance, probably about 2/3 of the time, maybe even more. But let's get these stats up on the screen for you guys. And we're going to first start talking about Jared Gordon. And Jared is 4 years younger than Mark Madsen, and he's also going to be 1 inch taller than Mark. And in addition to being younger by 4 years, Jared also has the overall and UFC experience advantages. He's got 13 more pro fights, almost 200 more minutes in the pro cage, and almost 3 more years as a pro mixed martial artist. Jared also has 8 more UFC fights and 90 more minutes of octagon time. Jared definitely has the superior distance striking metrics in a larger sample size at distance. Jared's got a positive 1.72 distance striking differential compared to negative 1.56 for Madsen. Jared is more accurate, 51% compared to 40% for Madsen, and he's more defensively responsible at 63% compared to 57% for Mark. He's busier. He's attempting 13.77 distance strike attempts per minute to only 9.71 for Madsen, and he's landing more. He lands 7.02 compared to 3.92 for Madsen. And I definitely rate Gordon as the better minute winner in the distance striking exchanges in this matchup. And Jared's UFC grappling efficiency has been excellent. His takedown accuracy at 40% and defense at 62.5% are at least average for the division. The 40% accuracy is above average. And Jared is getting 2.01 takedowns per 15 minutes on 5.03 attempts. Gordon outcontrols his UFC opponents 38.3% to 13%, winning almost 75% of the control time positions his fights are in, while attempting 55.5% of the takedowns and getting 57% of the takedowns. So he's controlling a much higher percentage of the control time positions than what he's attempting to get into the control time positions. So that always leads us to believe that he's very efficient in the grappling exchanges. So definitely we see those above average minute winning skills in the grappling exchanges for Gordon, as well as the distance striking exchanges. And Jared has fought the better level of competition overall at the UFC level. He's fought 13 guys with a combined UFC record of 77 wins and 47 losses. That's a 1.64 win-to-loss ratio. And the 5 guys that have beaten Gordon in the UFC, they've got a combined record of 48 wins and 19 losses. So he's losing to the best possible guys. The common opponent is Grant Dawson, and both guys were dominated by Grant and submitted in the 3rd round. Now, Mark Madsen, he's got a 4-inch reach advantage over Jared, and that could come in handy at distance striking range. Mark is the more durable guy. I have to rate that Danish durability over Gordon's, who's been finished in 5 of his 6 pro losses. The only one he wasn't finished in was the Pimblett fight, which he clearly won that fight. So Gordon should have been finished in all of his pro losses. I definitely rate Madsen as the better moment winner here. And as such, I like his finish-only prop if it's priced fairly. And Mark is an Olympic silver medalist in Greco-Roman wrestling. He's got ape-like strength. He has really good upper body lock takedowns and trip takedowns. Mark's 12 of 18 on his takedown attempts. He's averaging 3.09 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he's getting 26.3% control time and allowing 17.7% control time to his opponents. He's winning almost 60% of the control time positions that his fights are in. This fight probably comes down to who has the better minute winner in the grappling exchanges, and Mark has proven that he can win minutes on the ground against everyone not named Grant Dawson. So I see this as being a close fight, but the line isn't that close. I think this is close in the stand-up and close in the grappling. Both guys do a great job of minute winning in the grappling exchanges, and both guys have a tendency to keep the distance striking battles close. Gordon definitely has the better distance striking metrics, but he doesn't really put a stamp on fights with his striking, as he's landed 0 knockdowns in 13 UFC fights. So even though he wins the minutes, he can lose the moments that can sway the judges. Both of these guys are excellent wrestlers and control time grapplers, but Mark is definitely the bigger and stronger dude. And if this fight gets into the clinch, I favor Mark's ability to get fights to the ground with his Greco game. And I also rate Madsen's durability and finishing ability higher than I do Jared Gordon's. I see this fight as being 50-50, so the value is definitely on the Madsen side. And as such, I'll pick Mark Madsen to win this fight by a very, very, very close decision. All right. So I'm going with the Olympian Mark Madsen to win this fight by decision. You know, I think Gordon's a really good moment winner everywhere. I'm just not convinced that he can win the moments, or win the minutes on the ground against Madsen, because Madsen is so strong, such a good wrestler in his own right. And if Madsen winds up getting on top of Gordon, he might be able to keep him there for a while and win some minutes that way. And at distance striking range, with Mark having that reach advantage, and Jared, you know, not really being a dynamic striker that lands big shots, I could see maybe Madsen actually winning the minutes on the feet too. Either way, I think that this is a very close fight. I'm not confident about who wins it, but I am confident that Madsen is definitely the value side in this fight. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. As we've got, I don't see Gordon finishing Madsen at all, which is why I bet the finish only prop on Mark Madsen. We'll talk about that. That opened at plus 170. That made absolutely no sense. Jared Gordon couldn't finish a banana at breakfast time. I don't know how he's going to finish a guy in Mark Madsen who fought through a broken jaw against Austin Hubbard. Jared Gordon got finished by Grant Dawson, and so did Madsen. You know, I just don't rate Gordon's grappling as good as I rate Dawson's. So, yeah, I don't see him finishing him either, man. And Cuddles Knickerbocker's in the room saying, Weez, who's getting 7 shades of shit beaten out of him this week? Stay tuned for Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, and you will find, like last week, I said it was going to be Modestas Bukowskis who was going to get his ass shaved out there, get 7 shades of shit beaten out of him. And he got deadened by the great Vitor Petrino. That was a good pick, and we cashed off of that one, Cuddles. So you'll find out when we do Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. And Backstabber 47 saying Madsen is no longer at fight ready. He's back in Denmark to be closer to family, unsure about level of training. I lean Madsen being stronger, but Gordon having better BJJ. Yes, he's no longer at fight ready. Mark Madsen's wife has multiple sclerosis. So, in order for him to be able to get the health care that he needs for his wife, they just need to be back home in Denmark. But he's getting good training over there. They've got good gyms over there. You see, before he was with Fight Ready, Martin Kampmann would be cornering Mark Madsen, who's a UFC legend, also from Denmark. So, yeah, he'll get some good training over there, and Mark is going to be ready for this fight. It's going to be a very good, very competitive fight, I think. I can't wait to see this one. And it wouldn't surprise me if Madsen catches him with something. He got KO'd recently. Yeah, I know, dude. Gordon's been KO'd a ton, dude. They wouldn't even let him fight because of the recent concussion that he got, and he's been knocked out so many times. The guy's chin is in question. So I think most of the finishing equity here is on the Madsen side. And Cuddles is going Aspinall for the win here this week. Whoever wins that fight is going to shave ass. I find that it would be very unlikely that fight winds up like Derek Lewis versus Almeida did. So Gordon lost to Patty. Yes, that's what the judges who got paid a whole shit ton of money to say that did. I want to remind you, Cuban Assassin, that 2 judges scored round 1 for Patty Pimblett. And there's no way that anybody who's ever watched combat sports could come to the conclusion that Jared Gordon lost round 1 to Patty Pimblett. He landed like 6 chin spinner left hooks. Patty Pimblett got hurt so bad at the end of the round that he shot in on a sloppy takedown where Jared Gordon big brothered him, put his back on the mat, and then pounded his head through the canvas for the last 30 seconds of round 1. And the great Ron McCarthy, and I believe it was Derek Clearly, scored round 1 for Patty Pimblett in that fight. So no, Patty Pimblett lost that fight. That was a fight that he lost, but judges gave it to the guy who is more of the future of the company. And Remdog saying he should be motivated by his countryman Dalby's performance last week. I hope he is, and I hope he comes out looking like Nicholas Dalby. But there's only one Nicholas Dalby, and Mark Madsen doesn't fight anything like him. Mark Madsen's a completely different fighter than what Nicholas Dalby is. But they're both from Denmark, and Denmark's a great country. And DFS by the numbers saying, who has more concussions, Gordon or Vandera? I would say Vandera. It's got to be Vandera, right? Yeah, I'm going with Vandera, but I mean it's a race. I mean they both need more than one hand to count how many they've had. I think. Yeah, we all know Gordon beat Perry. He definitely did. Zeno Gray saying Saint-Denis versus Frevola looking like a fight of the night contender. That one is probably not going to be just even a bit of a ding-dong, Zeno Gray, but I predict that it's going to be a complete Donnybrook, an absolute fight for the ages. I can't wait for Frevola Saint-Denis. I can't wait to break down that fight with you guys. This pay-per-view card is a banger. Armchair saying Patty round one round one by tiring out Gordon's fist with his face. Yeah, that is how he won round one. He blocked so many punches with his face that he broke both of Gordon's hands and wound up Gordon having to slow down a little bit in the second half of the fight. Cuban Assassin saying I had Gordon winning the fight. However, that's got to fuck with him or anyone who takes an L to Patty. I mean, it does. Yeah, I know. And now they just dug up the rotting corpse of El Kukui, Tony Ferguson, to fight this guy next. That's how desperate they are to get him a win. I mean, I don't know if you could find anybody that's an easier win right now than Tony Ferguson. This guy's lost 7 fights in a row, you guys. I mean, he's in Harvard Business School, dude. This guy is checked the fuck out. They are so desperate to make it look like Paddy Pimblett is a top 15 lightweight, and he is nowhere near that. And we got D-Gen for life is in the room saying, "Oh, what's up, Uncle? Good to see you, D-Gen. Let's keep breaking down these fights, right? We've got we've got Nazim Sadykhov at -140 going up against Viacheslav Borshchev. Borshchev is a +120 dog. Fight doesn't go to decision for this one, sitting at -190. So let's get these stats up on the screen for you and start breaking down Nazim Sadykhov's advantages in this fight. Now, Naz is almost 3 years younger than Slava, and he's a good striker, is Naz. He's outgunned here on the feet, but while this fight is on the feet, you can't expect Naz to pressure and get Viacheslav to back up and use his lateral movement. He's going to crowd the kicker. He's going to throw some creative, unique kicks of his own. The cut stoppage that won in the Elder fight was via a cheeky head kick, and he dropped Hassan Zada on Dana White's Contender Series with a spinning back kick to the body with the second kick that he threw. Naz is good on the feet. I'm not sure he should want to stay there long against Slava, but he is a very talented striker in his own right. And Sadykhov will be the superior grappler in this matchup. Slava's pro MMA career has only lasted a little more than 4 years, and he had no grappling experience prior to that. We haven't seen Nazim offensively wrestle a whole lot on his tape, however. Slava's takedown defense has been non-existent thus far in the UFC, so if Nazim chooses to go that path, he will likely be successful. And according to my metric, Sadykhov has a slightly better UFC strength of schedule, and his wins over Terrence McKinney and Evan Elder rate better than Slava Claus's wins over Mahashate and Dakota Harry Bush. But Viacheslav Borshchev's advantages are that he's got the UFC experience advantage over Nazim here with 2 more fights and 25 more minutes of octagon time. And Slava has elite kickboxing. He had a pro kickboxing record of 18 wins and 2 losses prior to shifting his focus to MMA. Slava's distance striking metrics in an 18-minute sample size are really good. He's got a positive 4.16 distance striking differential with way above average 55% accuracy and 67% defense, which is really good. That's impregnable defense. Slava is just as dangerous offensively as he is elusive on defense. Everything Slava does is technical, smooth, and powerful. And he definitely has the ability to flash brilliance as well. And not just with his post-win celebration dances, but with the wide variety of attacks he brings to the table. His left hook is money. He has nasty kicks to all targets on the body. He's fast, he's powerful, and he moves his feet and his head so well in the pocket that he can stay safe while absolutely blasting you with combinations in close. Whenever Slava's opponents are unable to get him down to the mat or clinch up with him, Slava dominates the striking exchanges and almost always finds the finish. He's 6 wins and 0 losses to the knockout in his career, and I would consider his kickboxing elite for the lightweight division. Now, this is a really exciting fight between 2 prospects with less than 5 years of pro experience and only 10 pro fights apiece. Sadykhov is almost 3 years younger. He's definitely the better grappler, and his UFC wins are more impressive than Slava's, while Slava just needs to keep this fight standing, and he makes it look easy. But man, oh man, is that a huge if. Slava's takedown defense currently sitting at 35% on 34 attempts against, while allowing a whopping 53% control time overall to his UFC opponents, shows that the door has always been wide open to get Slava to the ground and not allow him to be able to dominate the kickboxing exchanges. Slava got 30-26th on 2 cards in the Mike Davis fight, but he still outlanded Mike at distance striking range 62-27 while throwing 40 more distance strike attempts than Mike Davis did. Slava even appeared to break Davis orbital in that fight, but Davis got the takedowns whenever he wanted them, and he dominated on the ground once he did. Until I see Slava successfully defend takedowns regularly, it's hard to see him winning fights at this level against anybody with a grappling heavy game plan. But I don't know if Nazim Sadykhov has the ability to push a grappling heavy game plan for the full 15 minutes. And if he doesn't, or if he chooses to stand and bang here, I see Viacheslav getting a knockout. I'm going to pick Slavaklaus to win this fight by second round KO because I don't know if Nazim Sadykhov can push a wrestling heavy game plan, a grappling heavy game plan for the full 15. And even if he tries, he could gas out late in the fight, at which point Viacheslav can get a late knockout, or Viacheslav could just prove that he's not as elite of a grappler as guys like Mark Diakese and Mike Davis are, who were able to get him down and keep him there once they got him down. Because if Nazim can get him down, that's fine. Can he keep him there is the question, and we don't really know. So I'm going to assume that a guy who's been taken down 22 times in 4 fights, that means that he's probably gotten up about 16 or 17 times, which means that if he can get up a few times and Nazim doesn't have the gas tank to wrestle for 15 minutes, Viacheslav Borshchev is going to get a knockout late in this fight when Nazim gasses out from wrestling. So I just think Viacheslav's striking is elite right now, and that unless I feel like people can control him for 10 out of the 15 minutes, that he's going to eventually find the big shot that either wins him the round or wins him the fight. So yeah, Slavaklaus, second round KO is a dog pick here. And I want to see the Russian dance. I want to see the Russian dance because it is absolutely brilliant. What do you guys think? What are you guys saying in the chat here? All right. Prochazka Pereira has to be a finish, right? What a great striking matchup. Well, we'll talk about that, Cuddles. I've got a strong opinion on that fight, my friend. Not on who's going to win, but on whether it finishes inside the distance or not. And hint, I think it finishes inside the distance. DGen for life saying El Kukui has enlisted the help of David Goggins for the Pimblet fight. Okay. Armchair MMA saying Patty reminds me of Wimp Low from Kung Pao Enter the Fist. Wimp Low. That movie was hilarious. I remember that one. Giga Chat of MPC saying Borshchev by KO. Mike Davis and Mark Diakese are genuinely good wrestlers. Sadykhov got lit up by Elder. Yes, he's very hittable, and that is a bad thing to be against Borshchev. And also, Sadykhov walks forward like a zombie. I think Borshchev is going to be ready for that pressure, and I think Sadykhov is going to walk onto some stuff that he doesn't like at all. Looks like an inbred member. Are you talking about Sadykhov, dude? I mean, because Borshchev doesn't have the hair, so I don't think he would look like one. Slava is a very good striker. He knows he just needs one shot, a true sniper, no doubt, for sure. Remdog saying, I expect Slava's takedown defense to look better with more time spent at alpha male gone by. He's got to be working on that continuously. And we are going to expect to see better grappling out of Viacheslav. So I do like him to win this fight, you guys. We got Caddy Daddy in the room saying he's late to the show, but he also has to say, "Oh, what is up, Caddy Daddy?" And we've got, oh yeah, that's right. He does look like an inbred beetle. Yeah, that is a way more accurate. Yeah, because he's got that Beatles haircut. He looks like one of the kids from Children of the Damned who's grown up with that vacant stare that he has, you know, and that fucking creepy ass haircut. He definitely looks like that. And yes. DFS by the numbers saying, I think we have another ding dong on our hands. And yes, a ding dong, a Donnybrook, a brawl, a banger. You know, we've got all of these words that we can use now. And yes, I think that this one will definitely be another ding dong for this card. Yeah, and Borshchev never quits too. You could keep taking him down. He will keep trying to stand back up and looking to land that one big shot. And all he needs is one. Great fighter. Great fight. Two great prospects here. UFC 295, absolutely delivering so far. And then this is where your Uncle Weezy is not going to deliver, because I have no notes on Rebecki versus Roberts. This fight got made late last night, and I was still working on breaking down all the other fights, mainly the main card fights. So I have not looked into Rebecki versus Roosevelt Roberts. But this fight is minus 600 right now for Matuesz Rebecki. Roosevelt Roberts on short notice plus 425. The under 2.5. So they are definitely expecting this fight to finish inside the distance. Minus 200 here. So, yeah, Rebecki is a big favorite for a very good reason. As of right now, I'm just going to pick Matuesz Rebecki to win this one by KO in the second round due to those absolutely brutal low leg kicks that he throws over and over and over again. And Roosevelt Roberts on those neuro ass legs that he's got, I could see him like breaking a leg against this guy, Rebecki. And Matuesz can wrestle whenever he wants. So I think that he could get takedowns and maybe pound out Roberts down there. But, you know, he's going to have to stay safe from the opportunistic submission game of Roosevelt Roberts, who will sometimes use, you know, a guillotine to guard against the takedown. So Rebecki's going to have to stay safe from the submissions, but I think he should make this look easy. But like I say, this is just a spur of the moment prediction here, because I have not taped either guy, because this fight was made too late for me to be able to get the show notes ready for this one, and also give you a researched opinion on the other 12 fights which were made yesterday. So Rebecki, second round knockout. That's the pick for this one. Let's move on to that next fight though now. Tabatha Ricci, the baby shark at plus 145. A nice fat plus money number there on the Ricci side. Going up against Loopy Godinez. Godinez is a minus 170 favorite. Fight doesn't go to decision. Bookie's really expecting this one to see the scorecards juiced up here, plus 275. We got a juiced fight goes sitting at like something like minus 350. So let's first start talking about Baby Shark and the advantages that she's bringing to this fight here. Now, she's going to be over 1 year younger than Loopy Godinez. Tabatha is going to be the more dangerous submission grappler here. She's a black belt in both judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and she's 3 wins and 0 losses to the submission in her pro career. Tabatha's doing a phenomenal job winning minutes in the grappling exchanges in the UFC. She's getting 4.23 takedowns per 15 minutes on 8.72 attempts. That's 48.5% takedown accuracy. And she's out-controlling her opponents 36.5% to 2%, winning almost 95% of the control time positions that her fights have been in. She's confident in her wrestling. And even when she gets taken down, she's very active with submission and sweep attempts off her back that most fighters would prefer to just stand and bang with her than go into her guard and have to fend off submission attempts. Because when you watch Tabatha Ricci, the conclusion that you'll come to, same as I did, is that this girl is 20 times more dangerous on the ground than she is on the feet. And I also lean Tabatha Ricci's strength of schedule so far in the UFC, even though that she has 4 less fights. You can see the ratio here at 1.21, better than 0.9 for Godinez. And they're fighting a similar level of competition in terms of win-loss ratio. So, in terms of experience. So, yeah, the better win-loss ratio is Ricci, as she lost to Mananfiro at 6-0. Now, Loopy should be the bigger straw weight here. She's going to be 1 inch taller than Tabatha Ricci. And Loopy has the overall and UFC experience advantages. She has 4 more professional fights and almost 100 more minutes in the pro cage in almost 5 years less as a pro fighter. She also has 4 more fights at the UFC level and almost 60 more minutes of octagon time. Now, Loopy is the better boxer. She has a positive 0.42 distance striking differential compared to negative 1.43 for Ricci. She's way more accurate than Ricci, 47.5% accuracy for Loopy compared to 30.24% accuracy for Ricci. And she's defensively responsible at 64% distance striking defense. She always keeps her hands high. She counters everything her opponents throw, so her style is kind of difficult to deal with on the feet. She's been in there with some solid strikers like Angela Hill, Emily Ducote, Elise Reed, Loma Lukbunmi, Luana Carolina, and she still has impressive above-average metrics for the division at distance striking range. And I'd also say Loopy is way more dangerous and powerful than Ricci as well. So I like Loopy a lot here at distance striking range, even though Ricci moves a ton and that she could be really hard to find. And Loopy has excellent grappling metrics in the UFC. She's got excellent freestyle wrestling. She's got 30 UFC takedowns and she's only allowed 4. She's getting 3.82 takedowns per 15 minutes on 8.02 attempts and out-controlling her opponents 36.6% to 9%. Excuse me, guys. She's winning over 80% of the control time positions her fights are in. I rate Loopy's wrestling higher than Tabatha's, but I do think Tabatha's BJJ is way more dangerous than Loopy's. So this should be a fun fight. I'm interested to see if this one stays standing most of the time, because I'm not sure Godinez wants to be in Tabatha's guard. And even if she gets Tabatha down, I'm not sure she can hold her there. If Tabatha can get Loopy on her back, I think she can win minutes there and potentially set up some submissions. On the feet, I like how active Ricci is with her footwork. She never stays in one place. She's touch, go, and she's like a little mosquito in there that's hard to find and even harder to kill. So Loopy's going to have to try to walk her down and back her up to the fence so she can get in the pocket and unload with the combinations. Loopy's a minus 170 favorite right now, and while I favor her distance striking, I'm not sure she's going to be able to find Ricci there, and I can't count on Loopy to win minutes with her ground game against a strong grappler like Ricci. I think this is going to be a very close fight, and I could see Ricci winning a decision here if she continues to move and maybe mix in a takedown or two. I'm actually going to pick Tabatha Ricci to win this fight by decision by being more active with her footwork and grappling attempts. I'm not sure I'll get to the window here, but Ricci's money line at plus 145, it does seem very cheap to me. And just how elusive she is on the feet. She's constantly moving laterally and not just one way in a circle. It's just back and forth, in and out. She's always angling out, not really backing up straight. And because of the constant movement, when her opponents get frustrated by the movement and try to walk Tabatha down, that's when she shoots those reactive double legs and can win minutes with that top control and grappling. So I think the style Ricci brings is going to be very difficult for Loopy. I think there's going to be a speed advantage on the Ricci side. And since both of these ladies are such phenomenal grapplers, I don't think we can really count on either one of them to win minutes there. So, I mean, I kind of feel like plus 145 is a gift on the Ricci side. So I might be getting to that, but I'm going to be picking Tabatha Ricci to win this fight by decision. She's definitely making a believer out of me. And we've seen Loopy go in there and pull some stunts and not grapple when she's supposed to grapple, and then grapple when she should be striking. So, if she makes bad decisions again, she's going to leave the door open for the baby shark here to find some ways to win minutes in this fight and make this really close. And if she does, I think Ricci will get the decision here. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. And let's see here. Caddy Daddy saying Nascimento indeed did not shave the ass of Mays. That was like when your uncles get in a brawl at a family barbecue. Yeah, that was not a great fight. I mean, Nascimento got the job done, but man, was it close. It was really close, but Nascimento by decision plus 270 cashed. Immaculaton 3 in the room saying, what up, Weezy? No Mexican crowd behind Loopy. I'm on Ricci with that plus 130. Easy bet. There you go, man. I agree with you. I think that it's going to be a 50-50 fight. Just going to sit back and enjoy this one. Appletini in hand, says my guy Brady. Yeah, man, this is the simp pick of the week. Got a lot of simps for Loopy, got a lot of simps out there for the baby shark, and they're fighting it out right now on Twitter. I think I'm going to remain rather agnostic. Like I said, I'm picking Ricci. I think the value's on that side because she's the plus money number, but I don't know if I'm going to get involved. Zeno Gray saying, Ricci gets her ass ate on Saturday. I got Loopy by unanimous decision. Yeah, if Ricci can't get the fight to the ground and Loopy can find her in the striking, yeah, Loopy should be the better striker. But the way Ricci moves is very frustrating. And Power Structure saying, I'm just going to take all the dogs for 1 unit each. I don't mind that because these are a lot of coin flip fights. So you could. This is the kind of week where 6 dogs could come through because like 10 of these fights, you got like a minus 150 favorite or something even lower than that compared to like a lot of weeks lately. It's been a bunch of minus 500 favorites. And if you pick the fight right, you get a free subscription to their OnlyFans. I don't think either one of them has one. So I don't think they're going to give me one. I don't know if they're going to give you one either. And I don't even know if there's one to give. So that's a good question. We're going to have to dig a little bit deeper and find out about that, Caddy Daddy. But let's move on to this next fight, which is going to be Steve Erceg, Astro Boy at minus 190, going up against Alessandro No Costa, plus 165 as the underdog. Fight doesn't go to decision, which I kind of like for this fight, and minus 115. I think that's a pretty good price too. So let's first get these stats up on the screen for you guys. And we are going to talk about, there we go. We're going to first start talking about Steve Astro Boy Erceg. Now, he's a huge flyweight, is Erceg. He's going to be 5 inches taller, and he's got a 2.5-inch reach advantage. 5'9" is gigantic for a flyweight. So I'm not exactly sure how Erceg makes weight, but he does. And it's a good thing for him because he gets to be way bigger than all of his opponents. I like Steve Erceg's minute winning ability in the distance striking exchanges better than Costa's. Steve's a tall, long flyweight, and he uses that length well. His punches come straight down the pipe. He's got a fast, snappy jab, and he utilizes low leg kicks and front kicks up the middle to maintain distance. He uses his feet well defensively, but he does a bad job moving his head. So he's definitely hittable, is Erceg, when he's in the pocket. And that could be a problem against a pocket boxer with countering ability and power like Alessandro No Costa does. Steve's grappling game is top-notch. He's 6 wins and 0 losses to the submission in his pro career. He's got 3 wins by rear naked choke, 2 by guillotine. One of those guillotines was a mounted guillotine. And he has a late 3rd round finish by arm triangle as well under his belt. Steve has excellent back takes. He can get the body triangle, then either burn minutes and bank rounds with his control time or finish the fight with the rear naked choke. Steve is slick and opportunistic on the ground and in scrambles. So he won't be out of his depth on the ground against a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in Alessandro Costa. Now, Costa has the overall and the UFC experience advantages. No has 5 more pro fights and 20 more minutes of cage time, in addition to 1 more fight at the UFC level and a couple more minutes of octagon time. Costa is probably going to be the more likely moment winner in the striking exchanges here. He's 4 wins and 2 losses to the KO in his pro career, and Erceg is 1 win and 0 losses. Erceg keeps his chin up in the air and he doesn't move his head. And once Costa gets in that pocket, he unloads hooks thrown with power and purpose. I can see Costa catching Erceg here if Steve hasn't cleaned up that striking defense. Erceg does have a good chin, though, but he shouldn't want to test it against a guy like Costa. And Costa's a BJJ black belt who, like Steve Erceg, has a 6 wins and 0 loss career record to the submission. Costa has 5 wins by armbar and 1 by rear naked choke, but 3 of 4 of Costa's wins by KO come via ground and pound. So not only can Costa catch you in an armbar from his back, but when he gets on top, he's got crushing top pressure and aggressive ground and pound that can absolutely finish fights. So Costa's a very good grappler who wins fights with that part of his skill set. And I like Costa's strength of schedule both at the UFC level and on the regionals better than Erceg's here. Both of these guys are very well-rounded, dangerous fighters. I love Erceg's size, I love his reach, and his well-rounded game. He has slick back takes and he flashes some power on the feet. Now, Costa is dangerous in the pocket and is more powerful. He's slightly younger and more experienced, but with the slightly better strength of schedule. I lean Erceg just a little bit in every category, but Costa is a very tough out, and I think that this is as close to 50-50 as it gets. I'm going to pick Steve Erceg, though, to win this fight by decision because I think he's probably the prospect with the higher ceiling here. So Astro Boy, Steve Erceg by decision is the pick. But like I said at the beginning of the breakdown, fight doesn't go to decision at minus 115 is very tempting here because both of these guys are very opportunistic finishers. Steve Erceg doesn't have the best striking defense. He does have a great chin. Dude can absolutely eat punches, but Costa hits hard, and both Costa and Erceg are both very dangerous and opportunistic grapplers. So I'm going to take a long look at violence for this fight and see if I can find a number that's worth playing. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat about this fight. We've got M.A. Liren saying, Erceg is such a humble kid. It's already his second fight in the UFC, and he's still not taking advantage from the fame his father, Michael Scott from Dunder Mifflin. Yeah, man, he does not. He looks like an unassuming guy to Steve Erceg, but once he gets in there, he's an animal, and he's huge for the division. So, yeah, dude, he doesn't look like a fighter. He looks like a gamer, you know, but man, he gets in there and takes care of business. Caddy Daddy saying probably one of the toughest fights to call on the card. These guys are both very talented. 2 young prospects. Let's see who cracks the top 10. I think Erceg's got a chance to do that. He looks very good so far. And Costa is very short notice too. My only bet of the card, the Van Erceg parlay, 3.75 units at plus 135 to win 5 units. Hashtag you only live once. That is a big number there. I like Van to win that fight. I'm picking Erceg to win. I just hope he doesn't try to, say, I don't care if this guy hits me. I can trust my chin, because Costa does swing for the fences. And he's very opportunistic with the submission game, but Erceg's a great prospect. I think it's a close fight, Vic, but I hope you cash that because I don't have any money on Costa. And DFS by the numbers saying, hot take, Erceg knocks out Costa late. Don't like Costa coming in here on short notice, and Erceg definitely has no quit in him. Not the best conditioning in the world, but you do see that he can fight through being tired, and he can put it on late in fights too. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that one goes because, like I said, I like fight doesn't go to decision here, and I would much rather have that fight doesn't go than the under 2.5 because of the pace that these flyweights put on. Line will shift when Costa misses weight. Yeah, maybe he will. Maybe he will, but let's see if Erceg makes weight too, because that guy's huge for the division. And Michael Panza in the room saying Erceg slightly resembles Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, he kind of does. He does kind of look like Aaron Rodgers. That's a good point there, man. All right. 48 of you hanging out in here live with your Uncle Weezy breaking down these fights. Do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Please leave me a comment down below. I love it when you guys interact with me here on YouTube in the comment section. And please consider joining that Patreon so you can get access to all these fantabulous stats that you see here on Just the Tip and Ask Weezy on your Uncle Weezy's YouTube channel, where I show up here for free, putting in the work for you guys so we can all stack cash tickets like flapjacks together. And the best way to support your Uncle Weezy is by joining up on the Patreon that you see right there. But next fight starts off the main card, you guys, and it is a banger. Grappler versus grappler matchup, as we've got Diego Lopes at plus 101 going up against Pat Sabatini, the pride of Pennsylvania. Or I think he's a New York guy, actually, Sabatini. Minus 121, and the fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at minus 180 for this fight. What a great grappler versus grappler matchup. What fantastic matchmaking this is. I can't wait for this fight. But let's first start talking about Diego Lopes here. He's 4 years younger than Pat, and he's 3 inches taller, and he's got a 2-inch reach advantage. Diego Lopes is a gigantic 5'11" featherweight, so he's going to have a size advantage over almost everybody in the division, maybe not named Sean Woodson. So always a difficult thing to deal with, the size and length of Diego Lopes. And Lopes actually being 4 years younger than Pat, he's got the overall experience advantage with 5 more fights and 50 more minutes of pro cage time in a little less than 2 years more as a pro. So not only is he younger than Pat, he's also more experienced overall. And Diego's a finisher. He's got a 90% finish rate in 21 pro wins. That's 12 submissions and 7 knockouts. I definitely rate Lopes as the more dangerous and opportunistic finisher wherever this fight goes in this matchup. And Lopes is hyper aggressive on the feet, and that should serve him well against the chinny Sabatini. He's huge for the division. He explodes into range with his jab, kicks, and power attacks. Diego's hyper aggressive on the feet because he doesn't care if he gets taken down due to how dangerous he is from his guard. So staying safe early in the fight while Lopes is fresh is going to be very important for Pat Sabatini here. And Lopes is extremely dangerous and an opportunistic submission grappler. He's hyper aggressive whether he's on his back or on top. Lopes is 12 wins and 0 losses to the submission in his pro career. So being on the ground with this guy sucks, as you'll probably just have to play defense the entire time while he chains submission attempts together. Sabatini was submitted in CFFC by Jason the Alley Cat Gonzalez. So even though Pat is also an elite grappler, this guy Lopes is always dangerous and always aggressive when you go to the ground with him. And even though Lopes has only 2 UFC fights to Sabatini's 6, his strength to schedule metrics are better on the aggregate than Pat's are. Now, Pat Sabatini has the UFC experience advantage here with 4 more fights and almost 40 more minutes of octagon time. And he's got an elite grappling game. He's 11 wins and 0 losses to the submission in his pro career, and he's 5 wins and 2 losses in decisions as a pro, and his minute-winning ability comes as a result of his ability to wrestle, maintain top control, land ground and pound, and hunt for submissions. Pat gets 3.83 takedowns per 15 minutes on 8.48 attempts. Pat's fights take place in control time positions almost 80% of his octagon time, and Pat outcontrols his opponents 64.4% to 14.7%, winning 81% of the control time positions his fights are in. Pat will be the much better minute winner in the grappling exchanges, while Lopes is the more likely moment winner. Pat is as accomplished a grappler as they come due to his ability to blend his D1 wrestling background with the control and submission grappling game of a BJJ black belt with 11 wins by submission. And you look here, it's these numbers right here, the red, shows that he's a minute loser because he gets 4.11% control time, does Diego Lopes, but allows 55% control time to his opponent. So when he gets taken down and he's only showing 37.5% takedown defense, he's easy to keep there. And if you can just stay safe from the submission attempts, you can run a bunch of clock there and win minutes against this guy. And Sabatini's like the opposite. He's got 31 takedown attempts while his opponents only have 7. And he's got 64% control time while only 14. You know, that means 81% of the control time positions he's winning. And he's only spending 20.88% of his UFC cage time at distance striking range, where he doesn't do his best work. So Pat's a very smart fighter. He knows how to win minutes, and he knows how to fight to his strengths and to his opponent's weaknesses. So this is a phenomenal grappler versus grappler matchup. It's the wrestling, top control, and minute winning of Sabatini versus the explosive striking, the massive size, and very aggressive BJJ of Diego Lopes. Minute winning grappling versus moment winning grappling. Lopes will be the more dangerous fighter on the feet, not only because of his size, length, and power, but also because Pat has not shown a solid chin thus far in the UFC, being hurt by Damon Jackson and Jamaal Emmers very early in fights, despite only spending 11.45 minutes at distance striking range thus far in the UFC. I liked the Lopes finish only line here at -110 earlier today, but it's now blown out to -250. Shout out to my guy Brady, DFS by the numbers. I know he got in on that at -110. He called me in the morning to tell me about it. By the time I got in front of the computer and ready to bet it, it had already blown out to -150. And then I said, maybe I'll wait a little bit, and then it was just gone. So Diego Lopes finish only prop at close to even money. Congratulations to everybody that got it. I think it's a great bet. But yeah, let's see here. Lopes has so many on-paper advantages here that it's surprising he's the underdog. But Sabatini's ability to wrestle and stay safe on top makes it likely he could win this fight by decision due to his superior wrestling and Lopes's penchant for staying on his back playing BJJ for too long. I'll pick Project Pat Sabatini to win this fight by decision with his wrestling and top control, but it'll be nerve-wracking to see him try to defend all of Lopes's sub-attempts. But I really do believe that Pat can take him down whenever he wants to. And once he's down there with him, he should be able to stay safe from the submissions. But if he doesn't, Diego Lopes is going to be the far more likely guy to finish this fight. And I think he probably finishes it by submission if he's the one to win this fight. So right now, I want to see what that submission prop is on Diego Lopes. Plus 325. I don't think that's a bad look at all. And Pat Sabatini by points is plus 225, but it was plus 285 earlier today. I saw that. I almost pulled the trigger, but I didn't. Now I'm angry that I didn't. But either way, I am picking Project Pat Sabatini to win this fight by decision. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Remdog saying, hoping after some exciting scrambles, it ends up on the feet and Lopes gets a KO. Yeah, he could absolutely KO Sabatini here due to the fact that Sabatini is very, very chinny. Caddy Daddy saying, I can't trust a guy that's going to pull guard for half the fight, but I feel like Lopes will catch him at some point, either in a submission or with a big shot on the feet. So, yeah, I think Pat's going to have to fight a very smart, very safe fight in order to win this one. And even if he does, I think Lopes probably gets him in some really bad spots on the ground. My guy Vic is saying he's not sure if he's going to bet this fight, but I'll be rooting for Lopes. Super exciting guy to watch. Yeah, he absolutely is. And Zeno Gray saying, I think Lopes might run off with Pat's chin on Saturday. It's absolutely possible, Zeno, because Project Pat, not a great chin, and Diego Lopes is a pretty aggressive and powerful striker. So I'm really looking forward to this fight. Great matchmaking once again. Brilliant strike or grappler versus grappler matchup here. All right. Let's get to the next fight. which is going to be a bit of a ding-dong, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Matt the Steamroller Frevola, the underdog at plus 190, going up against former French Special Forces warrior, the God of War, Benoit Saint-Denis, minus 225 favorite. Fight doesn't go to decision. Juice to the tits at minus 400 for this fight. This is a great one, you guys. This is definitely one of the contenders for fight of the night. Two all-action brawlers who go out there and give it their all and always put on extremely fun fights. You could see why this is on the main card of one of the best pay-per-views of the year. But let's first start talking about Matt, the Steamroller Frevola here, as he's got the overall and UFC experience advantages in this spot. He's got one more pro fight. He's got 20 more minutes of pro cage time and 4 more years as a professional fighter. Matt also has the UFC experience advantage over Benoit with 4 more fights and 30 more minutes of octagon time. Matt is a very well-rounded fighter. He's got 3 wins by submission, 4 wins by knockout, and 4 wins by decision. He can win minutes as evidenced by his 4 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw record in decisions, as well as finish fights. Matt has a 60% finish rate in his 5 UFC wins. All 3 of those finishes come by way of knockout, and he's also been knocked out twice in the UFC. That record to the KO is evidence of Matt's love of standing in the pocket and exchanging bombs until one man falls. Matt doesn't have great distance striking metrics, but he has landed 6 knockdowns in 9 UFC fights, landing knockdowns on 3.23% of the distance strikes that he lands. Matt has also been dropped 5 times by his opponents, so he does have a tendency to get into real wars. And against the God of War, Benoit Saint-Denis, this promises to be a real Donnybrook, ladies and gentlemen. Matt has shown the ability to mix in the wrestling and win fights with his grappling attack as well, notably in the Pena and the Turner fights. Matt was 8 of 20 on his takedown attempts in those 2 fights, and he accrued almost 10 total minutes of control time on those 8 takedowns. Matt won both of those fights by decision, so Matt can not only win moments on the feet and swang and bang wars, but he can slow things down and ground his opponent when he isn't comfortable striking and win minutes and bank grounds with his grappling. And Matt has the better strength to schedule at the UFC level, especially with his wins over Drew Dober, Atman Azaitar, Jalen Turner, compared to Saint-Denis' wins over Nicholas Stolze, Ismael Bonfim, and Thiago Moises. Now, Benoit Saint-Denis' advantages in this spot are that he's 5.5 years younger than Matt. He's also 2 inches taller and will have a 2-inch reach advantage. So he's younger, taller, and longer. And he's a very dangerous finisher, a 100% finish rate in 12 pro wins, 9 by submission, 3 by knockout for Benoit. And Benoit has the durability advantage. He showed insane durability and heart in the Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos fight. And Benoit is Benoit is a wild man on the feet. He attempts 14.91 distance strikes per minute, landing 7.48. That's 2.91 more than the divisional average at distance. And he's got a negative significant strike differential like Frevola does, but he also shows power like Matt does, landing a knockdown on 2.07% of the distance strikes that he lands. Benoit has 49% distance striking defense, so he needs to be careful about that in the pocket against a guy who hits as hard as Matt does. And Benoit has always been a very good grappler. He's 9 wins and 0 losses to the submission in his career, and he's averaging 4.72 takedowns per 15 minutes on 13.07 attempts per 15. Benoit's fights take place in control time positions 53% of his total octagon time, and he's winning over 87% of those control time positions, out-controlling his opponents 46.5% to 6.6%. Benoit is dangerous and extremely high volume, both in the striking and grappling. So both of these guys are definitely up for a bit of a ding-dong, ladies and gentlemen. Bells will be ringing, and somebody is very likely to get served. Benoit is a phenom. His pace is incredible, and so is his durability. He's dangerous and in your face wherever the fight goes. He's got a 100% finish rate, and his heart is as big as a truck. He has a special forces background, and it shows in the octagon. Frevola is exactly the kind of guy who could upset Benoit because of how reckless Benoit is, especially in the pocket when he loves to trade bombs, and his 49% striking defense could come back to bite him on the ass if he takes Frevola's power too lightly here. This fight is going to be awesome. Definite fight of the night contender. I love Benoit's youth, his pace, his durability, and his suffocating grappling game, which I think he can rely on should he not be comfortable enough to trade bombs in the pocket with Frevola. But Matt is definitely live to land an early KO here, because if Benoit doesn't prioritize defense, and he almost never does, you guys, and he's willing to trade, he could get knocked out here by Matt Frevola, who swings hammers. I like Benoit to win this fight, and I'm going to pick him to win by decision, you guys, even though this is minus 400 to finish inside the distance. I do think a first-round KO is live for Frevola here, but as the fight goes on, I expect Matt to slow down due to the unsustainable pace he sets in all his fights, trying to kill his opponent right out of the gate. What a banger fight this is going to be, and whoever wins this takes a big step forward in the lightweight division. But I'm going to go with a bit of an unorthodox prediction here. I am picking the favorite in Benoit Saint-Denis, but I think that everybody thinks he's going to get a finish here, which kind of makes Saint-Denis by decision a very interesting play, in my opinion, as Matt Frevola is a very durable, very well-rounded fighter. And also, plus 300 for the fight goes to decision. If I do like Benoit Saint-Denis to win by decision, might also be something that's worth a sprinkle in this spot. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We got Fender Jazz saying, hey, Weezy, glad to catch you live. I like the Lopes narrative, but man, the track record leaves a lot of questions. Yeah, do a lot of fights in that Mexican promotion. What's it called? I forget, but a lot of low-level wins for him, and we saw Joe Anderson Brito kind of take him down and easily control him. We saw Movsar Evloev take him down and control him. I mean, sure, he was close on an arm bar, a couple of knee bars, a triangle even, but he didn't quite get there. And Pat Sabatini is a BJJ black belt, so he's going to be difficult to submit. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting fight for sure. I love the Lopes Sabatini fight. We got Prince of Mischief is all over the steamroller, ladies and gentlemen. DFS by the numbers saying this fight is so confusing. Can see so many different outcomes here. The more I think about it, the more I think Frevola could KO BSD. Yeah, because I think he could absolutely KO BSD because Benoit is such a wild man. He has so little concern for defense that if he just is overconfident because of the fact that he's been shaving ass so consistently and so brutally over his last few fights here in the UFC, that he might think that he can just steamroll Frevola here. And if he walks onto one of those big hooks, it could be nighty-night. Yeah, too many decisions, Uncle Weezy. This isn't London, haha. But Brady, that I've been saying for a minute that these pay-per-view cards in the big cage will sometimes cause people to be a little more tentative than usual. So, yeah, I'm not betting. I did bet the over 1.5 rounds here at plus 145. I hate it. But I still think I might cash that bet. We'll see, though. If I do promise, if I lose that bet, I will announce it as the worst bet that I made this week, because I think it is the worst bet that I've made. Couldn't get that Zaleski fight out of his head, says Caddy Daddy. But so many people fall flat in their debut. And don't forget, Benoit is fighting at lightweight now. That debut against an absolute stud veteran in Zaleski was up at 170. So Benoit has found his natural weight class now, and he is dominating there. All right, you guys, let's move on to this next fight. It is going to be Jessica Andrade at plus 160 going up against Mackenzie Dern, minus 185. Fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at minus 200 for this fight. So this, I mean, it's kind of hard to break down this fight, in my opinion. Mackenzie's a couple years younger. She's 3 inches taller. She's got a 1 inch reach advantage, but obviously Jessica Andrade's got a massive experience advantage. But with an experience advantage, especially when you got somebody with as much tread on the, or with as many miles on the engine as Jessica Andrade has, you have to start asking yourself, are they still in a place where they're prioritizing MMA? And Jessica Andrade is on a 3-fight losing streak. She took a fight on short notice, up a weight class against Erin Blanchfield, and got wasted there. Yan Xiaonan, who knocks out nobody, knocked out Jessica Andrade and did it in dominant fashion. And then Tatiana Suarez submitted her. So, I think Suarez beats Dern. I think Yan Xiaonan already has beaten Dern, and Erin Blanchfield, I think, beats Dern as well. So I don't think we can take too much into the fact that Jessica Andrade is losing 3 fights in a row, but it's the way that she's just kind of like raising her hand whenever it's a short notice opportunity, a fight that somebody that is looking to get back to the belt wouldn't take. You're going to be choosier when you're on your way up, when you're trying to win the championship, rather than taking fights that, you're just doing the UFC a favor and showing up for a check. So while Jessica, should be the better striker in this spot, and she's been the much more efficient wrestler and person that can, dictate whether the fight gets to the ground or not. The way Jessica Andrade dealt with Erin Blanchfield's pressure in their fight has me very worried that she's not going to be able to deal with Mackenzie Dern's pressure in this fight. And while Dern got Angela Hill down and had her in several bad spots, got Yan Xiaonan down and had her in several bad spots. Torres down, had her in bad spots. Marina Rodriguez down, had her in bad spots. Even Nina Nunez. She was on top of Nina Nunez for that entire first round and wasn't able to pull off that armbar until the last 10 seconds of the first round of that fight. So Mackenzie Dern is not the kind of girl that you want to be saying, oh, 1 takedown and it's over. But Jessica Andrade has been submitted 4 times in the UFC. She's been knocked out 4 times. This is not a lady who's, showing durability. She's been finished in 8 of her 10 UFC losses, and it's just as many by knockout as by submission. Now, Dern looked phenomenal against Angela Hill. Just absolutely walked her down. And I mean, I really think Mackenzie Dern has finally got a style, and that style is pressure and volume and, wear on you and then try to drag you down to the ground. But she's also very aware that she doesn't necessarily need takedowns. She can pull guard. She can roll for leg lock. She could try to take your back standing in the clinch. There's a bunch of different ways that Mackenzie can start to activate her grappling game. And with somebody in Andrade, who's 3-4 to the submission in the UFC, it makes me very worried that if Dern does get this one down to the ground, that she'll finish Jessica there shortly thereafter. But like I say, Dern's opponents have been showing good submission defense against her lately, so I don't think it's necessarily a given that she submits Andrade here. But I do think she wins this fight. If Jessica does pull this off, I think that there are paths for her. She could do the better work at distance striking range, and I don't think anybody would be surprised because it's not like Mackenzie Dern's a phenomenal striker. And she could potentially stop the takedown attempts of Mackenzie Dern and keep the fight standing. And if she's able to do that and she deals with the pressure of Dern while she's on the feet, then she could easily win this fight. But those are a lot of ifs. And with somebody as opportunistic of a grappler as Dern, who's bringing that pressure now relentlessly, which is exactly what I want to see from her. I have to lean Dern to win this fight. I'm going to pick her to win it by first round submission, actually, but I'm not betting on this fight. I don't have much of a take on it. I'm really worried that Jessica Andrade might be checked out, and might be just on her way to saying, you know what, I've had a great run in this sport. I've made a pile of money. I can retire and live well for the rest of my life and not have to get into the cage with any more of these killers. And, that's what it looks like right now. So when somebody's got as many pro fights as Andrade and is far along in her career as she is and doesn't look to be anywhere near getting back to the belt, I'm just going to assume that trajectory that we've seen her on continues here, and that Jessica gets finished here by submission early in this fight when they're both dry. So I'm going with Mackenzie Dern to win this fight by first round submission. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. My guy Brady saying Jessica has the worst ground game on her back I've ever seen. And that's just a nightmare, dude. When you're getting submitted 4 times in the UFC, that is a very bad thing. And then when you're going up against, one of the biggest BJJ phenoms in the planet in the weight class, it really does set up for a good chance that Mackenzie gets it done by submission here. But I've seen so many of her opponents who are low level grapplers like Marina Rodriguez and Yan Xiaonan, just kind of like, and even Angela Hill, just be able to stay safe from numerous submission attempts. And Remdog saying, I got a strong feeling this is the one Dern finally gets the sub. Everyone is expected of her. Yeah, and I'm right there with you, Rem, and I agree. All right. We're almost 2 hours in here, and we've only got 2 fights to break down. We got the co-main and the main. Both of these absolute bangers. Sergey Pavlovich, plus 103, going up against Tom Aspinall at minus 123. The fight doesn't go to decision here. Juice to the tits at minus 2,000. Let's get these stats up on the screen here. All, of course, available on your Uncle Weezy's Patreon. Join the Patreon now. All right, let's break down this Pavlovich fight here, you guys. We're going to first start talking about the advantages that Sergey Pavlovich has. Now, this dude is an absolute unit. If you haven't seen this guy fight before, picture a refrigerator with an Easter Island statue bolted to the top of it. That's what this guy looks like. That's what his dimensions are like. He got the biggest head I've ever seen, and I don't know how he makes 265. He's 6'3" with an 84-inch reach, and he will have a 6-inch reach advantage here over Tom Aspinall. He's also the southpaw in this southpaw versus orthodox matchup. Sergey has the overall experience advantage with 3 more fights than Tom and 45 more minutes of professional cage time. And Sergey, he's got death touch power in his hands, which is not surprising when you look at him. Dude looks like he was created in a lab. He's 15-1 to the knockout in his career. He's got 7 UFC knockdowns in 7 fights. He's landing a knockdown on 7.22% of the distance strikes that he lands. If he lands a distance strike, there's a 7% chance that you're going down. He's got a positive 3.25 distance striking differential with 44.5% accuracy and 64.6% defense. He lands 7 distance strikes per minute on 15.72 attempts. At that rate, he on average lands about a knockdown every 2 minutes at distance, which is a crazy number. That rates out to 6.31 knockdowns per 15 minutes. Every second you stand in front of this slab of marble is very bad for your brain health. And now Tom Aspinall on the other side is a monster too. He's 1 year younger, and he's actually 2 inches taller than Sergey. He's got a 100% finish rate in 13 pro wins, 3 submissions, and 10 knockouts for Tom. And he's dangerous wherever the fight goes, while Pavlovich is more of a one-dimensional power striker. Tom is the better technical boxer. He's got faster hands. Both dudes have crazy knockout power, but Tom's hands in the pocket are sweet. He's got a positive 2.29 distance striking differential, fantastic 62% accuracy at distance, and he's got 65.63% defense. Having good distance striking defense against a guy that hits as hard as Pavlovich is a very good thing. And he's landing a knockdown on 4.29% of the distance strikes that he lands, and he's finished 4 of his 6 UFC wins by way of knockout. I'm not sure standing and banging with Sergey at distance or in the pocket is a very good idea, but if anyone can get the better of Sergey, it would be a gifted and fast athlete like Tom with real power in his hands. And Tom's the better grappler here by a wide margin. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's 3-1 to the submission, while Sergey is 0-0 to the sub, and he's never even attempted a submission or completed a takedown in the UFC. The only time we saw Sergey on his back in the UFC was in his debut versus Overeem, and he looked like a fish out of water there. That was a long time ago, though, and Sergey has stopped every takedown attempted against him since in the UFC. But that being said, the ground game is Tom's easiest path to victory here, in my opinion. Sergey is no longer dangerous when he's on his back, and Tom has shown fantastic ground and pound and an opportunistic submission game in the UFC. So Tom would be very smart, in my opinion, to grapple early and often in this fight. What a fight, though. I mean, we got the future of the heavyweight division looking to get that interim title and get John Jones when he's back from injury here. Tom is the more complete mixed martial artist. He's younger. He's faster. He's the better grappler, and he's the more gifted athlete. And he's also very powerful on the feet, as is Sergey. Now, Pavlovich is going to have that 6-inch reach advantage on the feet, in addition to being the southpaw, and the power he has in his hands is just stupid. His lead uppercut causes serious brain damage, and if you back up in a straight line with your chin up, Sergey will blast forward, and he'll remove you from your consciousness. I love the under 2.5 rounds in this fight, and I have the under 1.5 parlayed up, but I'm going to go with the youth, speed, and athletic ability and grappling upside that Aspinall brings here. I'm picking Tom to win this by first round ground and pound knockouts. So we're going with Tom Aspinall by KO in the first round here. I think he's going to wrestle, and I think if he gets him down, he can pound him out or potentially get that submission. But either way, the under 1.5 rounds at around minus 215, that's a potential parlay piece this week. Very hard to see this fight getting even into the second round. And if it does, I see it finishing early. Even though it's a 5-round fight, and sometimes these guys in 5-round fights will pace themselves a little bit. Both of these guys have such power in their hands. It's really hard to see these guys landing more than a couple of shots before one of these guys is in serious trouble and on shaky legs. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Tom Aspinall coming in here on short notice, says our guy DFS by the numbers, and he is absolutely right about that. He's coming in on short notice, as is Sergey Pavlovich. So, both guys coming in on short notice for this one, as they are the replacement fight for the Jones-Miocic fight, which was canceled about a week and a half ago. We got Lou Betya in the room saying Russia #1, Iran #1, American Haktui, and that is our guy Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, one of the best tag teams ever in professional wrestling. And that was the combination of Russia and Iran, the two biggest enemies of the United States back when I was a child. So one of the most hated tag teams of all time, Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik. Rest in peace to the Iron Sheik. And yeah, I know. I watched tape for this fight, and even though I watched both of these guys' entire UFC careers, it took less than an hour to watch that tape. And yes, managed by classy Freddie Blassie, who was very, very classy. Freddie Blassie was just as classy as Pete Barrett is slippery, ladies and gentlemen. I can assure you of that. And Remdog is in there saying Torn only threw one kick in his return, or Tom only threw one kick in his return fight, and it was to the head. Do you think he uses leg kicks against Pavlovich? Yeah. Don't forget, he just had his knee reconstructed. But what Tom was saying after he tore his knee up in the Blades fight was that had been an issue for him for years. For his entire pro MMA career, that knee was always wonky for him. So he said it was kind of a relief when it finally tore, because then he knew he now had to take the time off to recoup that, to rehab that knee properly, because in the midst of your pro career, as long as it was holding up and you were winning, he didn't want to take the time off and risk the surgery, but it forced him to do that. And he said that after he had the surgery, he just felt so much more complete, so much more ready to fight, because he finally had two sturdy knees. And boy, he looked great against Tabatha. And yeah, and that head kick was absolutely beautiful too. So yeah, I think Aspinall is going to try to chew up Pavlovich's legs. Pavlovich loves the counter, so you can't just go crashing into the pocket against somebody like him. You do have to try to move laterally and slow him down, chop those legs down a little bit, and get him to chase you a little bit and see if you can, tire him out. Because when that guy is fresh and he hits you, he's got all the energy to finish you after that. And that's what he does so well. And that's what he's so dangerous at doing. All right, you guys, down to the main event of the evening. And it is a great fight between Jiri Prochazka and Alex Pereira. Prochazka, a slight underdog here at -104, coming off a long layoff and a serious shoulder injury. And he's going to be fighting Alex Poatan Pereira, -116. Fight doesn't go to decision. Juice to the tits at -700, as many people see this fight finishing, as do I. Now, let's first start talking. Well, first we'll get the stats up on the screen here. And we're going to first start talking about Alex Poatan. Or no, I've got Pereira. All right, well, we're going to first start talking about Jiri's advantages here, as he's 5 years younger than Alex, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. And Jiri has the overall experience advantage with 23 more fights and over 75 more minutes of pro cage time in 3.5 more years as a professional fighter. Now, Jiri's a problem. He has 33 pro fights and he's won 29 of them. He's finished 28 of those 29 wins inside the distance, and he's got 25 knockouts and 3 submissions. This guy is unusually long for the division, and the way he fights is very unorthodox. He has death touch power and an ironclad chin. He's such a unique opponent to train for, and you don't really know what to expect from this guy until you actually get in there with him. Now, Jiri's got excellent distance striking metrics in the UFC against top-notch competition. He's got a positive 1.55 distance striking differential, 53% accuracy, and a 1.12% distance knockdowns rate. Jiri strikes with his hands low. He moves his head all over the place, and he's got like a snake-like movement at range. He slithers around, striking like a cobra, darting into range with his punches and kicks, coming from unusual angles and cadences. Jiri's 25-2 to the knockout in his career. He hasn't been knocked out since 2015 against Kyung-Ho. Even though Jiri is fighting one of the most feared knockout artists in MMA, in Alex Pereira, it's obvious that Pereira could just as easily wind up sleeping on Saturday as Jiri could. Both of these guys have got elite power. Now, Alex is 1 inch taller than Jiri. Alex has the UFC experience advantage with 3 more fights and 30 more minutes of octagon time, but it's obviously Prochazka with way more overall experience. And Alex Pereira's already won and lost the middleweight title, and now with only his second fight at 205, he's fighting for the interim title. Alex shot up the ladder quickly because he's a very talented kickboxer. Alex has a glory kickboxing background. He has 3 wins over Israel Adesanya between kickboxing and the UFC. In the UFC, Alex boasts a positive 1.66 distance striking differential with 53% accuracy and 2 UFC knockdowns and 3 UFC wins by way of knockout. Alex stands very tall. He has nasty low leg kicks and his punches come straight down the pipe. Alex's left hook is one of the most feared weapons in the entire sport of MMA. And if he lands it, it's nighty-night, my friend. Alex is 6 wins and 1 loss to the knockout in his pro career. And standing at kickboxing range with this guy isn't the best idea, especially if you have a 48.5% distance striking defense like Jiri Prochazka does. My metric likes Alex Pereira's strength of schedule better than Jiri's so far, but both guys have really only fought the best level of competition. What an exciting, violent interim title fight this is. Jiri is always exciting in fights, as is Pereira, and us fans will be most likely holding our breath starting at the walkouts of this fight. This fight comes down to who the better kickboxer is because we can't count on Jiri to wrestle and to exploit the biggest hole in Alex's game. As such, I feel that the violence in one way or another is the way to play this fight, as Pereira has sub 53% distance striking defense, and for Jiri, it's sub 49%. So somebody's eventually going to get served in this fight. It's high variance due to the long layoff for Jiri and the unusual style he fights with. Alex is more technical and polished, but Jiri's impossible to prepare for, and the guy is a flat-out maniac and could very well be considered clinically insane. Look at his haircut. He's cuckoo bananas in the head, and this dude has bricks for hands, and he darts in and out of range so fast, has such unusual head movement. I smashed the under 2.5 rounds for this fight. Prochazka has been a decision twice in 33 fights. Pereira only twice in 10 pro fights. So I made a big bet on the under 2.5 rounds for this fight at minus 177 on Bet Rivers for a whopping 3.5 units. But I'm not really confident at all about who wins this fight because both guys have massive power. I'll pick Pereira to win by second round knockout, but my real pick for this fight is going to be the under 2.5 rounds. So that settles it. The main event, I'm going with Alex Poatan Pereira to win this fight in round number 2. But what I'm really looking forward to is seeing somebody get served and somebody get knocked out because they both have bad distance striking defense and both have got next level power. Love the under 2.5, and I smashed it for a big bet trying to win 2 units here. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. We've got, yeah, he's cuckoo bananas in the head. He is, dude. Look at his haircut. This guy lives in the forest, for Christ's sake. You look at him in there, and it looks like he's talking to himself. He'll sometimes turn his back. He's just weird, dude. This guy is absolutely crazy, but I absolutely am crazy for Jiri Prochazka. I love watching this guy fight. He's such an awesome fighter, just such natural gifts with his power, such an unorthodox style, and he never quits. He's had such a great resume of regional scene competition. The guy has fought everybody before he got here, so he was already ready to fight for the title when he first got to the UFC. We got Unk. Thoughts on Brito versus Pierce next week? Lockish Ness monster. Yeah, dude. I'm not the best guy to ask because I'm a huge Jonathan Pierce fan. I love this guy's style. I love his volume. I love his output. I love his durability. I love his wrestling. I think that he's gonna break Brito here, probably in the second or third round. I think Brito's going to land a couple of big shots, realize that Pierce isn't going to go away, and that Pierce is going to do what he always does, which is just drown his opponents in volume, wrestling, ups and downs. And if his knee is holding up well, because he is coming off a torn ACL from what I understand, if his reconstructed knee is 100% and ready to go, I think Pierce is going to get the job done. Remdog says Alex's main weapon is also his weakness. I think him loading that left hook is why he's open to his opponent's right hand to the ear. Yeah, man, Alex does not have good distance striking defense, and we saw Israel Adesanya, a guy with much less power than Jiri Prochazka, absolutely drill this guy a couple of times and put him on Queer Street. So I am really thinking that Jiri is very live to land big shots here, especially with Alex being as defensively irresponsible for somebody that's as good of a technical kickboxer as he is. My guy Real Fight Pick says, I was here the entire time, Weezy, just listening and taking it all in. Thank you for joining us, man. 56 of you guys still live in here. Let's start with the last three things that we do. First, I'm going to give you all my track bets thus far for this UFC card. Now, over 1.5 rounds, my least favorite bet in the Frevola Saint-Denis at plus 145. Hate it, hate it, hate it, but it might cash. A two-leg parlay. We've got the over 2.5 rounds in the Buzukja Emmers fight, because Emmers not much of a finisher, Buzukja not much of a finisher, and Buzukja, who's more likely to lose the fight according to the money line, is very durable. So I like that fight going over 2.5 rounds, and I parlayed that with the under 1.5 rounds in the Aspinall-Pavlovich fight. Both of those lines were minus 215. You parlay them together, you get plus 115. That's a one-unit bet. I've got the Mark Madsen scorecards equals no action. That opened up at plus 170 for some reason on BetOnline, and I think he's got most of the finishing equity in this fight. So I bet that for 1 unit at plus 170. I've got Jamaal Emmers to win this fight by decision. That is a 1.2 unit bet at minus 120 to win 1 unit. I think Emmers is better everywhere. And I think if he grapples especially, he's going to win a ton of minutes with his grappling. His wrestling and grappling game, extremely underrated. And I think he's underrated really everywhere. I think the guy's a phenomenal fighter. He just cannot pull any stunts. That's why I don't want him pulling stunts and getting finished here. But as long as he doesn't do that, we'll cash the over 2.5 and hopefully cash an Emmers by decision bet. And then I've got the fight doesn't go to decision at plus 180 for Kyung-Ho, Kang, and Castaneda. Both of these guys are pretty durable, but both of these guys are very dangerous, and they're both down to throw down and be in a back and forth fight. And I think Castaneda's pressure and his volume will draw Kyung-Ho Kang into a bit of a war here, and I could definitely see somebody getting finished if that's the way the fight takes place. And then the under 2.5 rounds at minus 177, 3.5 units to win 2. I love somebody getting served here, and I'm just going to, that's my biggest bet of the week for 3.5 units, trying to win 2. I made that bet not on Bet 365, but on Bet Rivers, where I now have a new account, but they don't allow you to bet or track Bet Rivers for some reason on Bet MMA Tips. So I put it as Bet 365. So those are the tracked bets so far. We've got 8.7 units in total, and I'm also looking to add a couple more bets. One of them we're going to talk about right now as we talk about the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking Pick of the Week. So I'm going to give you a plus money bet here, and I'm going to give you a straight up money line of an underdog that I think is going to win this week, and that is ladies and gentlemen, Viacheslav Borshchev to win on the money line is plus 120, and his knockout line is plus 250 on BetOnline Sportsbook right now. And I like Viach to get the job done here by knockout. I think he's the much better and more technical kickboxer in comparison to Sadykhov. And because I don't think we can count on Sadykhov to be able to wrestle for 3 full rounds here, and if he does wrestle early, I think he'll gas out late. I do see Borshchev getting a second round KO here, and at plus 120, he is your Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking Pick of the Week. Last week was a push. We had the Vince Pichel plus 180, plus 3.5 points handicap. Bonfim wouldn't show up for his ass whooping, so we pushed that one, so nothing there, but we hit the Elkins one the week before. So we're on a roll here. Let's make it 2 in a row with Viacheslav Borshchev getting a knockout here at plus 120. And that leaves us with the last order of business of the week. It's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Who's going to win violently? Who's going to shave the ass of their opponent? Who's going to be the one that leaves you saying, God damn, that was nasty? Because whoever wins the main event, it's going to be nasty. Whoever wins the co-main event, it's going to be nasty. But I don't have strong opinions on those fights. Like, I could pick Aspinall for the ass shaving of the week, and he could be sleeping from the first shot that super soldier with the Easter Island head, Pavlovich, lands, right? And Prochazka Pereira, Another closely lined fight. It's hard to be confident about anything besides somebody getting served. But I got to give you somebody that I'm confident wins and wins violently this week. And you know what? Frankly, you guys, I'm getting a little bored. I'm just getting a little bit bored. I mean, Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week is just shaving ass on the regular, and it's just getting too easy. Week after week after week, I'm picking guys that I know are going to shave ass, and they go out there and they shave ass, and it's like, oh, ho hum. Weezy got another ass shaving of the week, right? You know? Well, I'm sick of picking favorites, so we're going with an underdog. You're going to get an underdog ass shaving of the week, and guess who it is? Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We got M.A. Laren saying another week done. Now let's stack the flapjacks. Although, to be honest, I still don't know what those are. So I'll take my pizza. Thank you again for your outstanding work as usual. Flapjacks is slang in America for pancakes. It is breakfast food. You put butter and syrup on top of it, have a little bit of breakfast meat with it. And if you're like me, some hash browns too, because you need some extra carbs, right? Those hash browns are the best breakfast food ever. But flapjacks, we stack them on top of each other, just like cash tickets, and we keep making this money watching these fights. And hell yeah, Fender Jazz is a bassist, and as a bassist, he says, go Bootsy, the Bootsy Collins Memorial. You know, so everybody's favorite dog picking dog, Bootsy Collins, but also everybody's favorite funk bassist, Bootsy Collins from Parliament Funkadelic, an absolute legend. Lucas Alzawi is saying Madsen. I do like the finish only prop for Madsen, and I considered making him my Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs or Barking pick of the week. But you know what? I'm so confident this week that it's gonna be Viach, ladies and gentlemen. He's not only the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs or Barking pick of the week, but he will be Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. I think this is a great matchup for Viacheslav Borshchev. I think he's going to shave the ass of Nazim Sadykhov with his absolutely brilliant striking. And I think he'll probably get up from a couple of takedowns, wear out Nazim by bringing him into that grappling game. And when Nazim realizes he can't hold him down and he can't deal with this dude at range, I think Viacheslav is going to shut off the lights and do that Russian kick dance that gets us all so happy. There it is, you guys. 13 fights broken down. We gave you all the track bets. We gave you a dog pick of the week, and the dog pick of the week is also Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Viacheslav Borshchev to shave the ass of Nazim Sadykhov. We did it 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 22 seconds after we started. Here we are with all the fights researched, and now we're all ready to stack cash tickets like flapjacks. DFS by the numbers was certainly not expecting that. And Lucas Alzawi says the double hitter. That's what we're doing this week, you guys. There weren't a lot of confident favorites that I'm confident in this week. And I see a lot of these fights ending violently, but Borshchev, I think, is the guy that I think is going to get it done. So let's see how it goes. But there we are, 56 of you guys still hanging out live. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please leave me a comment before you leave. Please hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe if you haven't already. And please consider joining that Patreon to support the work that I do here every week for you guys for free on YouTube. We got Caddy Daddy saying great work as always. Hopefully it's nothing but green check marks for me this week. Yeah, we would have even hit the greasy 4-leg parlay this week if Fakhrudinov had been awarded the win instead of the draw. We were that close, but let's get another winning week here. Stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 295, and I will see you guys tomorrow, 8 o'clock Central Time on Pub Sports Radio for the DFS show with Brady, Monk, and Gordo and myself, and then right back here, 10 o'clock Central Time for Ask Weezy. I have got my significant strikes template ready to go for all of these fights, and we can talk significant strike, time, takedown props on all 13 fights of this card with all the data at our fingertips. I've already given out a 3-leg prize picks play, 1 unit to win 5 on the Patreon in the Weezy Track Bets folder. And we will talk about these props and see if we can find ways not just to beat the bookies with a bag of oranges until we juice them, but also beat Prize Picks and Underdog on their prop bets that they offer in MMA. So you guys have a great night. Thank you for sticking for the whole 2 hours and 24 minutes, and we will see you guys tomorrow.